So I would say that's probably most people, but I don't know that at all. Town criers are the opposite of that. So they kind of view themselves as the people who and announce major events to the world as soon as they possibly can. All of LA turns into this when there's an earthquake, just so you know. And lastly, there are window shoppers, which are kind of not like the other three at all. They're more observers. So it's a more passive experience where you're just looking at posts, reading them, kind of taking different things away from what people are saying or posting themselves, observing behaviors. So you're kind of there, but you're not interacting. Like you're a lurker, basically. That's a nicer way.
Well, that's a creepy way of putting it.
I lurk on Reddit. I never post on Reddit, but I read a lot of stuff and I absorb a lot of information. So there you go.
Well, there you go. You're a lurker.
On Reddit.
On Reddit.
On Facebook, I think I'm more of a relationship builder, but I would like to be more of a selfie person because you gotta promote yourself, and I don't like doing it, but it's necessary.
That's what I feel. I feel like I'm a mix between selfie and relationship builder because being in this industry, you have to be a selfie Facebook user because, I mean, not meaning like taking selfies all the time, which I do, but I meant like, you know, like you have to constantly be promoting yourself, and it is exhausting. It's you know, I use Facebook for a lot of different work purposes, but the relationship builder is ultimately why I keep Facebook because, you know, I keep in touch with my family and my friends, and my grandmother would kill me if I got rid of my Facebook.
How else would you know when anyone's birthday is?
Oh, that too. That's so helpful. I'm so bad with dates. I'm like, oh, is it your birthday? It's like, Bonnie, my birthday's not until January. I'm like, I'm so close.
I still wish you well.
Yeah, I wish you well.
Day and all days.
I wish you well when your birthday comes around in 7 months.
But I think these are all broad and vague enough that maybe you could actually cram 2 billion people into these 4 different groups.
I mean, you can put everyone into 4 Hogwarts houses, so why not?
I feel like I'm a blend of 2 houses, though.
See,
so
but you can be a blend in here too. Like you can be
I did take a quiz that was just like, which 2 houses are you and which is your dominant? And it was just like, I like this quiz. It's more nuanced, as we all are.
Kind of brings it all together.
Well, yeah. It's not really a personality divider itself. It's more like, how do you handle Facebook? So audience, how do you handle Facebook? Which of the 4 groups in this research do you think you are? Please let us know on Nerd Alert TYT on Facebook and Twitter. Americans are swearing more than ever. Why is that? Are we coarser? Are we worse? No. So I'm sure that was bleeped out, and I'm just gonna say, yeah, it's gonna probably be bleeped out, but you'll still know exactly what I was saying due to context.
Damn it! I'm so glad I'm used in this one.
I don't think damn it is a swear word.
Is it? Oh. Oh, well, hold on, I'll think of more.
Okay,
Don't worry.
Okay. A new study by San Diego University psychologist Jean M. Twenge suggests that the increased swearing in modern years, or more recent years, is not due to a decline in morals and values, but rather a growth of individualism, which is not necessarily a bad thing. So her team searched the Google database to see how the use of Carlin's, you may remember the famous 7 words you're not allowed to say on television from George Carlin. So they followed those 7 words in particular to see how they changed from 1950 to 2008 for this particular study. So what they found was a large trend more towards self-expression and individualism, which I don't think is a bad thing.
I will say everyone should read this article just for the description of the curse words in itself. Instead of listing the words, they describe the words, which is funny to me. I think it's funny.
I'm not really offended by any of these words because I don't think they're meant to harm anyone in particular. I mean, what do we have? Mother, sucker, shit, crap. Nope, not crap. They're not even listed in this article, so it's up to you to go fit it to yourself.
I hope that was all like beep, 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 like Morse code. It's like beep, 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 beep. You just like said save our ship or something.
Yeah, sure. I think it's fun. That's fun too. So what they were looking at in this particular part was American books since 1950. So seeing the word mother in the 1950s was not very
scandalous,
common, but it appears 678 times more often now. There are 65 possibly less offensive replacements for and it has around it appears 168 times more often than it did in 1950s. Shit, which I don't know if it's available through context what I've just said, but turd, poop, you know, it emerged 69 times as often, and no, that is not a joke.
I mean, now we have a whole movie about a poop emoji, so I mean,
but that movie sucks and shouldn't exist.
I know, I'm aware. I didn't even watch it.
But this is not, you know, we're not all terrible. When back in my day, we were better people. No, it's not like that necessarily.
My inner sailor comes out every now and then, you know? Like,
well, maybe it is, because I don't find these things very profane personally. Yeah. I mean, if these words are used more and more, we're gonna be more used to them and we're not gonna care as much. And maybe we'll come up with new swear words and there will be a new set that we can't say on television.
Frickin' frack.
Oh, no, that's only in BSG.
Oh, that's right. That was the name of my computer. Because anytime my computer would crash, I'd be like, frickin' frack.
Perfect.
And so that was the name of my laptop.
So you could talk to it more.
Yeah.
But people are doing things that are more self-expressive. One is giving their children unique names instead of, you know, John or Jane.
Oh, I thought they were calling their kids like shit and
No. I'm talking about self-expression. So it is kind of a break from, it's different. It's a decline in social taboo, and it's more about expressing yourself as opposed to falling more into conventional standards. So
I kind of want to name my kid that now.
Maybe you should think about that first. It's just more individualistic language in general, and the culture has shifted more towards freedom, self-expression. I think that's good, because what's the point of obeying rules and social constructs that don't exist anymore even? I don't get it. I do get a lot of comments though from older people who don't appreciate the way I talk, and that's just your opinion, man. I disagree.
Beep, 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 beep.
Audience, are you offended by any of George Carlin's 7 words you can't say? Please let us know why at Nerd Alert TYT on Facebook and on Twitter.
Bye.
And swear words. Google has taken a stab at stopping clinical depression, and some people say this is a great thing, but some therapists are saying it's awful. So recently, within the past few weeks actually, Google announced that it teamed up with a mental health advocacy group to address the epidemic of depression. And people who type the words clinical depression into Google search on their mobile devices are now presented automatically with a link to a screening questionnaire to assess whether or not they are depressed. And this is just one company's steps. Not Google. Apple has recently said that they want to hire someone with psychology and counseling backgrounds to help train Siri into helping other people who may have issues that they have not addressed yet. And normally these types of behaviors are lauded, because I like the idea that mental health is becoming destigmatized and that we are addressing it more and we're taking it seriously. Because in the past, people would be like, get over it, just do this, just do that, which is not really a great way to handle anxiety or depression or any other mental health disorders. So this is a couple companies' attempts at this. However, some psychologists think these actually do harm. Simon Gilbody of University of York says Google's initiative has been reported positively and uncritically despite bypassing the usual checks and balances that exist for good reason. It is unlikely that their initiative will improve population health and may in fact do harm, because they've also said that the questionnaire could lead to some false positives.
Well, that's what I'm afraid of. See, there's like two sides to this. One side is, you get a whole bunch of people on there taking this, quiz or seeing if they're depressed, and it could, because they're not getting like that personal interaction with someone who actually is a professional and who knows what they're doing and who's able to assess them with just, you could lie to a computer, not lie, but you know what I mean? Like you can put things on the computer, like you don't understand yourself when you're, I don't know. It's hard to put into words. All I'm saying is a lot of mental problems could be self-diagnosed incorrectly, where like someone with schizophrenia could go on there and be like, oh, I have clinical depression, or I'm fine, and then if they had gone to a therapist, the therapist might have been able to uncover some of their personal problems.
I think sometimes, in many areas, we're kind of bad as humans at understanding ourselves and realizing problems and realizing positive things as well. So that is a major factor with it. There's also another issue, and that is with privacy. John Grohol, psychologist and administrator for PsychCentral.com, says Google is a technology and marketing company that collects people's data. It's not really clear about how they would use this information. I wouldn't want sensitive information like mental health to be in the hands of a marketing company.
That is a very good point.
That is a good point. Outside of the obvious from these psychologists.
And also the last thing I want is to be laying on a couch and going like, Siri, this and that. And then all of a sudden it's like, it seems like you have issues. Like, tell me about your father. Like, that's the last thing I want. It's like for Siri to tell me that I have problems, being diagnosing me and asking me. I'm like, this is really creepy. A whole part of going to therapy and talking to therapists is to get that personal connection with someone to where you feel like you get that level of trust and this and that. And I don't know, maybe some people would prefer to talk to a computer, but I don't know.
Well, I think it's okay as a first step, which is, oh, maybe I should speak to someone else.
Maybe I should get a second opinion besides artificial intelligence.
Talk to a doctor about this instead of this thing that doesn't really know what I'm going through, and maybe I don't even know what I'm going through. But I think it's okay on that level. However, the other point we have about Google being a marketing company and collecting data is something that I would also be a little more wary about personally.
This is how we get Skynet, people. This is how we get Skynet.
Well, you may not necessarily have the data linked to your answers, and then they use anonymized data for sure. But they may also use this to help your user experience, i.e. serve you ads, which I might not really care for in general, but maybe that's a whole different ballgame than what we're talking about here. So I would say this is okay for a first step, but you should probably seek beyond Siri and seek beyond Google search if you want to improve your mental health. Audience, have you taken the test and what did it find? Do you agree? Please let us know at NerdAlertTYT on Twitter and Facebook.
So late last week, you might have seen the hashtag #StopBetsy on Twitter. Now this came after Betsy DeVos, who is our Department Secretary of Education, made an announcement that they were going to be rolling back some Obama-era guidance on Title IX and how to deal with sexual assault and sexual harassment on campuses. Now, a lot of her comments came in response to a letter that the Obama administration released to schools. It's called Dear Colleague. It was basically a long letter. I implore you to read it. That sort of outlined how schools should approach sexual assault, what sexual assault looks like, how teachers should be trained, how students should be trained, what sort of the process of involving the police and the courts and all of that looks like. So read that. But Betsy DeVos had some comments on it. And she said that she was concerned that the current policy denies due process to individuals accused. So she got a lot of backlash for this because obviously those that are accused in sexual assault and sexual harassment cases are oftentimes rapists or sexual abusers and things like that. And she said that they're already in the process of rolling back the Obama-era Title IX guidance. Now, you might recognize the name Title IX when it comes to like sports or something like that, right? Because Title IX basically says that you can't discriminate between genders when it comes to funding in schools. And so that it talks about sports and other education programs and things like that. But it also applies here to sexual assault and sexual abuse because not giving those who are victims of sexual abuse the proper sort of going through the motions and hearing them out and understanding what they've gone through is oftentimes discriminating for genders, right? Because women are oftentimes, or more often than not, the victims of sexual abuse. It's actually 1 in 5 women on a college campus is going to be the victim of sexual abuse, which is
a staggering
terrifying.
number.
Yeah, and oftentimes sexual abuse is like widely underreported, so that number is probably even higher.
Yeah.
But I want to mention out before we go into the rest of the story that men are also the victims of sexual abuse, and it's about 6%. Okay, so 6% of men are victims on college campuses as well. Now, Title IX, as I mentioned, is that federal law that prohibits discrimination based on sex, and so it includes this protection for sexual harassment, like I said. Now, in 2011, the Obama administration outlined the guidelines for schools on how to handle sexual assault allegations in the memo that's referred to as a Dear Colleague letter, okay? Now, the letter reminded schools of their legal obligation to address sexual violence amid concerns that schools were not taking the issue seriously enough and called on schools to step up investigations of reports. It also provided guidelines for investigations and hearings. And I think one of the most notable aspects of this Dear Colleague letter that I think Betsy DeVos is probably alluding to in her rollback is this part of going through on evidence, right? And so instead of needing 75% evidence, in most of these cases, it's about 50%, right? A 50% chance, because in cases of sexual abuse and sexual assault, there's often not a lot of evidence, because if you shower after or something like that, you're going to be missing some of the evidence, or if you wait a few days because you're, concerned about retaliation, traumatized, whatever it may be, you won't have all of that evidence. But because the numbers are so staggering, and only about 2 to 10% of rape allegations are false, they say that you should sort of take those numbers into account in your proceedings. What do you think about this move from Betsy DeVos?
Well, like you mentioned, the numbers on of college campus sexual assault are just like absolutely staggering. It's like, I mean, I'm not a parent, but I can just imagine like looking at these numbers and like sending your daughter off to college, and you're like, this is a 20%, or at least, or maybe more chance of my little girl being, like sexually abused. Like that's like a crazy thing to think about, that we're, sending young girls to be, educated like at our most hallowed institutions in the country, and they were basically sending them to this like sexual assault meat grinder. It's absolutely crazy. It's very clear that it's a very serious problem that requires some sort of action. And it's just like the conservative hypocrisy on this, where all of a sudden they care about due process, which they never do in any, like whether it's in cases of terrorism or drug offenses, anything. They do not care about due process ever. But in this particular narrow case, they all of a sudden become like civil liberties heroes. So it's very clear that the Trump administration, shocking, and Betsy DeVos in particular, like are not acting in good faith. Like, right, they don't really care about the problem. They're just sticking up for part of their base, right? This sort of like men's rights group, activists and things like that. That being said, like it is very clear that it is such a almost like a wicked problem, right? I mean, because there's a reason why college campuses or colleges don't quote unquote take this issue seriously enough is because, like, imagine you're the first college that starts like seriously dealing with sexual assault. All of a sudden, like, your numbers look like, if you start investigating and you start to see all these cases of sexual assault, and all of a sudden, like, your college might get a reputation as being like the sexual assault college. Right. Do you see what I'm saying? So there's like a perverse incentive for them not to investigate, so that they can, so it doesn't seem like it's actually going on. Right.
And that was the incentive then, but then after this Dear Colleague letter, basically the Obama administration said, we're not going to give you money, we're not going to do these things if you do not follow these guidelines. So then there was an incentive that almost flipped
It's almost
the
like we need to see like instances of like reported sexual assault like uptick in a certain college campus as a good thing, if that makes sense.
Because more people are reporting and feel comfortable reporting.
That means that they're doing something right in terms of dealing with the problem. The other problem is that schools aren't, they're not criminal investigation centers or whatever. Like, they're not law enforcement. They don't have those tools necessarily. Like, so they probably may need some sort of funding program or something to develop the institutional ability to deal with something like this, because they clearly don't have it at this point. They're just not built for that, right? So it is a really thorny issue. Rolling back this is like obviously like the exact opposite thing of what they should be doing. They should be doing more to deal with the problem. They should be like looking into further government programs, new processes. I mean, it's a very, very difficult situation that requires a lot more to be done. I don't necessarily have the answers. I'm not a criminologist or an expert in how to investigate this, but like doing less and reverting back to the status quo is obviously like an unacceptable position. I mean, these numbers are just like too staggering. So.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, and I think that maybe is the answer, right? Is keeping the Dear Colleague guidelines, but adding on to it, right? Like I think adding on aspects of education, right? Yeah. Where both genders are educated in what sexual assault and sexual abuse looks like, what to do if this happens to you, like maintaining evidence and things like that, and how to sort of deal with that. But also, like, we need to change the culture around masculinity and power dynamics, where this isn't sort of like, oh, he got drunk and whatever sort of thing, and we need to change that.
And I think that's a good point, because like everything that I've ever learned about sort of criminal justice would tell me that, you know, harsher punitive measures around a certain crime don't necessarily reduce the instances of that crime. Like there is something to be said about like just like overall justice, and just, you know, like, you know, a crime deserves, you know, some sort of punishment just as a fundamental sort of theoretical case.
Yeah, and a little bit of emotion too.
Right.
Yeah.
But if we're actually trying to sort of reduce the problem, whether it's drugs, whether it's murder, I mean, like, you know, we have the most punitive criminal justice system in the world, probably. Yet we don't have fewer murders. We don't have fewer instances of sexual violence. We don't have, you know, all these things. You know, they don't necessarily have an effect on the actual crime. The only way we can sort of have an effect to reduce crime is to programs of rehabilitation to reduce recidivism rates, and general, like you said, changing the culture, changing the you know, education, empowering women, empowering men. You know, like really educating men. I mean, you know, the perpetrators of this. I mean, obviously there's a, you know, million, you know, sort of degrees, and like there's like the full on just kind of like, you know, sinister behind the dumpster kind of rapist. But there's
like date rape.
There's probably some that maybe don't quite realize what they're doing. You know, if that makes sense. Like there's it runs the gamut, right? So we could probably eliminate a huge chunk by educating men. Right, teaching them, like, you know, these certain things are not okay. Like it's just not okay. You know, like, which maybe sometimes now they do think it's okay.
Right, and you know what I mean. Like I think understanding what's not okay, right, and understanding what is defined as that is helpful. But also like saying like, oh, if somebody's under the influence, they cannot give consent. Even if you're both under the influence, they cannot give consent. And I know that seems really frustrating to people, because they're like, wait, we were both drunk. But at the same time, like, there is a power dynamic that's intrinsic, unfortunately, in heterosexual rape. And so those things need to be taken into account. Yeah. And so we do need to sort of be educated on that. And I think if men and women alike are educated on that, then maybe we'd like reduce some of this, and of course changing the culture of masculinity, and how people exert their masculinity or their power, whatever it may be, and feel like I get drunk and I eat a lot of nachos. Like, I'm not trying to pin anybody down, except for guacamole, but I think that's part of the, like, how I was, you know, brought up and things like that. And some people don't have that benefit, and so they may act out when under the influence, or with like, a partner or something like that, where they feel they have more freedom.
When you got to college, had you been around alcohol before in your life?
I had been around alcohol, and I was very educated. Like, my mom has told me since, like, I think I was like 9 years old, like, watch your drink, like, whatever. But I will tell you, as conscientious as I am about those sorts of things, and careful as I am, and not getting like blackout and things like this, like, I was roofied in college. And and I'm extremely...
I was roofied once too.
Really? Yeah. So like, both of us extremely cautious, like educated around these things, and you can still
obviously
be in that situation.
There's obviously like the roofie cases, but there's plenty of cases where it's just like, you know, we got too drunk. I just remember when I got to college, you know, I was raised by European parents, like a very different culture around alcohol than I realized coming from, you know, sort of quote unquote like regular American upbringings. When I got to college at Boston College when I was 18, I remember being shocked at like all these people who had like never touched a drop of alcohol before in their lives, and you know, got to college and all of a sudden it was like they went from like nothing to like free for all, and that like transition was just like, I mean, so many people like right out of the gates were just like, blah, 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 you know, like they just couldn't handle it. Whereas like, you know, me and like maybe my group of friends that we got there from, you know, from our upbringing, like we were like totally much more comfortable, and it's like as if we'd all like been there, done that, you know, kind of thing. So I think having a conversation, you can't have a conversation around campus sexual assault without having a conversation about alcohol on campus, and like obviously banning it's not going to work. I mean, kids get around it all the time, but like just the way you educate around, the way you create a culture around alcohol, it's like slightly different, like a more just tame one. But like now, I mean, like what's like the most celebrated thing is like, you know, like who could do like a longer keg stand and like, you know, 2-floor funnel and, you know, things like that.
You had a fun college experience.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with you that I think alcohol is a part of it, and I don't necessarily like want to put all the blame on alcohol, because then I think like we take some of the culpability away from the perpetrators. Like I still think that you are culpable and you.
I'm not suggesting that's. I mean, obviously. Okay. It's like adding like
fuel to the fire.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe it's the same for sex. Frankly, like if you haven't like been as active in high school and things like that, and then all of a sudden you have you know
again
another
argument for increased sexual education instead of like abstinence only. You know, like I mean, there's like a billion. That's what I'm saying. Like we keep as we're having more factors are like putting into the spoken wheel. There's no one thing that will eliminate this. There's like a million things that we need to be doing.
There's a million things that we need to be doing. They all sort of like lie within education. And I don't think that the solution to all of these things is rolling back protections for victims and saying that their assailants can still be like in class with them. I mean, this is for some people triggering and traumatizing, and for most people that are the victims will affect them for the rest of their lives and will haunt them for the rest of their lives. And so by taking somebody out of their classroom to allow them to just like get through the day is I think beneficial to both parties, right?
Well, obviously, you know, I mean that's the thing. Like instituting due processes and instituting sort of a coherent and thought through process by which to deal with something like this, it actually probably even helps the quote unquote accused assailants more than than something like this where there is no, it's just like the wild west, like if we had some more coherent thing. I mean, like obviously like the number one priority should be to protect the victim. And like I mean I think that should be like an uncontroversial thing, like okay, like we're at least gonna like
make sure that you're okay.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, like, this is beneficial to if the guys, if they do perpetrate the crime, and then they're like, okay, it's like, no, you can't come to school until this person graduates. If you rape somebody in the real world, like, you're going to prison for years and years and years.
Well.
So, unless you're Brock Turner.
No, or unless you're one of the, 98% of, like, unreported rape cases or whatever.
That is true. That's a good point. Yes. Well, at least
if you rape someone in the real world, you're probably going to get away with it, unfortunately.
A little sooner.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think about this rollback from Betsy DeVos. And a lot of you guys are on college campuses, so I want to hear from you guys what the culture around sexual assault looks like, how you've seen your school deal with it. Let us know in the comments down below, and we'll see you guys soon. So late last week, new research out of Stanford University suggests that a gaydar might be on the horizon. Now, Dr. Michael Kosinski and Yulin Wang, whose research will be published by the journal Personality and Social Psychology, say that AI can distinguish between the face of a heterosexual man and a homosexual man in 81% of cases. For women, the predictive accuracy is 71%. Now, they said they're able to guess correctly in 61% of cases for men and 54% for women. and that the advanced computer analysis compared different facial characteristics and found that gay men and women tended to have gender atypical features. This included fixed features such as the shape of one's nose or jaw, as well as transient features including hairstyles and facial hair. Now the scientists then tested this idea to measure the facial femininity of each image and the probability of that face being female. So the results show that the faces of gay men were more feminine and the faces of lesbians were more masculine than those of their respective heterosexual counterparts. Among men, the data-driven measure of facial femininity positively correlated with the probability of being gay. So this is, I want to make this really, really clear that we are reiterating the research that came out of Stanford University. Now, there's been a lot of backlash to this research, and I think in a number of cases, rightfully so, from the LGBT.
It's just like, I mean, imagine like being a scientist, working at Stanford, like one of the most elite academic institutions in the world, and like spending your time trying to figure this out. So, like, of all the problems there are in the world, I don't know. Like, it just seems like it's like I want to develop a gaydar.
That's essentially what it is, right? And so people who are arguing against this are like, okay, now this could be used to target people within this community, right? If we have this AI. Stanford's point, the researchers from Stanford's point is, yeah, so we're letting you guys know that this is possible so that we can protect you in the future if people try to employ this in a negative way.
It sounds like one of those like in a bad like sci-fi movie where like the scientist creates something just to warn the good people of whatever, but then like the thing itself like gets out there and like
now it exists, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there's a few problems with this besides being like, yes, it could be used really detrimentally, right? Especially as we are seeing more backlash to the LGBTQ plus community and having this sort of AI, if people do not want to like come out or something like that, is really dangerous and scary, right? I think the other component of it is like, I feel like when people hear about like new technology or intelligence or something like that, they all of a sudden think like, well, if that exists, like maybe I could be a pro. And I don't like the idea or the concept of people trying to pick out people's sexuality by the way that they look. That I think is very problematic. And so I really want to get into some of the methodology that these researchers use, because they only used really pictures from one online dating site, and the majority of them were white men. So it's not a representative sample size at all. Additionally, like there's gonna be
scientific method. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like there's no diversity there, right? So it can't be representative that way. I think it was like 71 faces or something like that. And then the other component of it is like, I wonder what sort of dating site it was. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think especially within the gay community, there are different dating apps that have different proclivities or whatever it may be.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And so you don't know, it could be like another sort of filtered out sample.
That doesn't represent the entire gay community or whatever.
Exactly. And so like I just think that, and then like talking about like how their faces might be more feminine, it's just I'm struck by like the need to like dedicate, like, I mean, being a scientist, like, you're in a lab and you're working and you're researching and you're doing all this stuff and like you're working toward this goal. Like even if like, imagine a universe in which like this thing was like totally sound in the sense that it was like they were totally
whatever, like that it was totally representative and perfect accuracy in this fantasy world. Like what's the point? Like really, what's the point of like dedicating your life to?
So he argues that then we can prove that it's nature, not nurture, and it's not a choice that you can change.
But but they just said that like some of these like some of these are transient features.
Yes.
So I'm not buying that argument. I'm not buying that argument.
Saying, I know.
Also, the other thing, the broader point, is that we should stop all AI development now because they're going to kill us all. The robots are going to kill us all.
They're going to take over. It's a really
there is no alternative.
We won't have to worry about this gaydar when
we have bigger problems when we're all just like enslaved, to the robot, overlords. So
it's a really good point. They're going to be able to use their AI to see that you're not a robot and that you're a human.
Yes.
And they're going to target you that way. Let us know what you think about this research out of Stanford, and if you agree with the researchers that it's important to put this out there, or do you think this is really damaging to the LGBTQ+ community, in the comments down below, and we'll see you guys soon. New research out of Stanford University suggests that a gaydar might be on the horizon. Now, Dr. Michael Kosinski and Yulin Wang, whose research will be published by the journal Personality and Social Psychology, say that AI can distinguish between the face of a heterosexual man and a homosexual man in 81% of cases. For women, the predictive accuracy is 71%. Now, they said they're able to guess correctly in 61% of cases for men and 54% for women, and that the advanced computer analysis compared different facial characteristics and found that gay men and women tended to have gender atypical features. This included fixed features such as the shape of one's nose or jaw, as well as transient features including hairstyles and facial hair. Now, the scientists then tested this idea to measure the facial femininity of each image and the probability of that face being female. So the results show that the faces of gay men were more feminine and the faces of lesbians were more masculine than those of their respective heterosexual counterparts. Among men, the data-driven measure of facial femininity positively correlated with the probability of being gay. So this is, I want to make this really, really clear that we are reiterating the research that came out of Stanford University. Now, there's been a lot of backlash to this research, and I think in a number of cases, rightfully so, from the LGBT.
It's just like, I mean, imagine like being a scientist, working at Stanford, like one of the most elite academic institutions in the world, and like spending your time trying to figure this out. So, like, of all the problems there are in the world, I don't know. Like, it just seems like it's like I want to develop a gaydar.
That's essentially what it is, right? And so people who are arguing against this are like, okay, now this could be used to target people within this community, right? If we have this AI. Stanford's point, the researchers from Stanford's point is, yeah, so we're letting you guys know that this is possible so that we can protect you in the future if people try to employ this in a negative way.
It sounds like one of those like in a bad like sci-fi movie where like the scientist creates something just to warn the good people of whatever, but then like the thing itself like gets out there and like
now it exists, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there's a few problems with this besides being like, yes, it could be used really detrimentally, right? Especially as we are seeing more backlash to the LGBTQ+ community, and having this sort of AI, if people do not want to like come out or something like that, is really dangerous and scary, right? I think the other component of it is like, I feel like when people hear about like new technology or intelligence or something like that, they all of a sudden think like, well, if that exists, like maybe I could be a pro. And I don't like the idea or the concept of people trying to pick out people's sexuality by the way that they look. That I think is very problematic. And so I really want to get into some of the methodology that these researchers use, because they only used really pictures from one online dating site, and the majority of them were white men. So it's not a representative sample size at all. Additionally, like there's gonna be
scientific method. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like there's no diversity there, right? So it can't be representative that way. I think it was like 71 faces or something like that. And then the other component of it is like, I wonder what sort of dating site it was. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think especially within the gay community, there are different dating apps that have different proclivities or whatever it may be.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And so you don't know, it could be like another sort of filtered out sample.
That doesn't represent the entire gay community or whatever.
Exactly. And so like I just think that, and then like talking about like how their faces might be more feminine. It's just
I'm struck by the need to dedicate, I mean, being a scientist, you're in a lab and you're working and you're researching and you're doing all this stuff and you're working toward this goal. Even if imagine a universe in which this thing was totally sound in the sense that it was
they're totally
whatever, that it was totally representative and perfect, accuracy, in this fantasy world. What's the point? Really, what's the point of dedicating your life?
He argues that then we can prove that it's nature, not nurture, and it's not a choice that you can change.
But they just said that some of these some is a transient features.
Yes.
So I'm not buying that argument. I'm not buying that argument.
Saying, I know.
Also, the other thing, the broader point,
is
that we should stop all AI development now because they're gonna kill us all. The robots are gonna kill us all.
They're gonna take over. It's a really
there is no alternative.
We won't have to worry about this gaydar when we
have bigger problems when we're all just enslaved, to the robot, overlords. So
it's a really good point. They're gonna be able to use their AI to see that you're not a robot and that you're a human.
Yes.
And they're gonna target you that way. Let us know what you think about this research out of Stanford, and if you agree with the researchers that it's important to put this out there, or do you think this is really damaging to the LGBTQ+ community, in the comments down below, and we'll see you guys soon. Vanity Fair released their best dressed list, and now they are facing backlash because I wasn't on it. Apparently,
I know, Hannah Cranston. You are.
Jeans and graphic tees didn't make the cut this year.
I think you are a style icon in my book.
Thank you. I feel like I just really zhuzh up my yoga pants. You know what I mean? It's a little extra pizzazz. But on the list, former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama. Others who made the list: Solange Knowles, Rihanna, Harry Styles, LeBron James, Justin Trudeau, Anna Emanuel, and Bridget Macron. Now, you might notice that a current First Lady is not on this list. And Melania Trump supporters are peeved, and they are calling the magazine Vanity Unfair, which...
Clever. I mean, they're clever.
I live for puns, and so as much as I think this story is really fucking dumb, I love that. That's really great. And they cried fake news. Vanity Fair best dressed list. News necessarily, but whatever floats your boat. So let's read some of these responses. Southern Mom says, not having Melania Trump on best dressed list is pure spite. You know as well as I do, she is best dressed, period. Hashtag best dressed. Vanity Fair can't quite grasp the concept of class, elegance, beauty, intelligence, all in one package. Definition, Melania Trump. At FLOTUS. Okay, just when you think the fake media couldn't get any worse, Vanity Fair doesn't.
Right, this is the biggest crime.
This is it. Doesn't put FLOTUS Melania Trump on their annual best dressed list.
Okay.
What do you think about this?
So, a couple things. I just find it hilarious now that Trump, people are these fashion experts, and this is what they care about, this is their cause celebre is fashion. Trump and his family are the best dressed people in the world. That's just it's hilarious to me.
Those ties are the best ties.
They're very
made
good.
in China, whatever,
and
but
they're
the
way
best
too
ties.
long. But I will say this, that they maybe have a point. I mean, Barack Obama is not a very well-dressed man. I've seen those dad jeans, and it's not. He's cool, but he's not a very good dresser, in my opinion. So I don't think he belongs on the Vanity Fair list.
I think you're bitter.
Why would you say that?
Yes, so maybe they didn't have I can understand being upset with a. No, actually, I lied.
No.
I was gonna say I can understand being
who cares?
upset as best dressed list, but who the fuck cares? Unless you personally are on the worst dressed list.
Wait,
maybe
I'm gonna put you on the spot. Do you think Melania Trump is a good dresser?
I think the people that dress her do a good job.
What?
I think
You're
she's
reducing her agency?
I think the people that dress Michelle Obama do a good job as well.
Okay.
They don't dress themselves. Do you know what I mean?
They don't?
No, they have people that give them dresses and they get dressed, which is great. Good for you. If you have them, so do half of the people on this list. Most of these people Rihanna, Solange, like they all have stylists that dress them. It's not these people like up in the Gap picking out these outfits and like piecing it together. Let's be real. It's the stylists that give them the clothes. Fine. I think the stylists that give Melania her outfits are lovely.
Okay.
I think her outfits are lovely, but Vanity Fair doesn't owe it to anybody to put Melania on a list. And
I just like find it so funny that like, you know, like this is like the kind of thing, you know, like it's like, you know, conservatives are like, oh, triggered much? You know, like, oh, you need a safe space and you be politically correct. Like they want all those same things, you know, like. But this is the pinnacle of snowflakeism. Yeah, they're like.
You didn't put Melania on our best dress list. Like, calm the fuck down.
Yeah, so conservatives, you're the real snowflakes.
Bernie wasn't on this list. Like,
Bernie,
we don't do the liberals,
my
like,
favorite story. Hannah, do you remember my favorite story last year was when Balenciaga released their like line and it was like Bernie Sanders inspired. Remember it was like Balenciaga like 2016 in the Bernie logo.
Oh God,
it's amazing.
That is amazing. I missed that. I think you need to calm down.
Yeah.
There's like real fucked up things happening in the world right now, and not having your first lady on a best dress list is one that maybe you should just roll off your shoulder. You know what I mean?
Also, we all know that the best dressed is Barron.
Yeah, he's got that. You had like a cute
the
shirt
fidget spinner.
On. Yeah, he's a cool kid.
Yeah,
he's a cool kid. Yeah.
Free
Let
Barron
us
Trump.
know what you think about all of this hubbub around the Vanity Unfair list in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys soon. Hey guys, welcome back to Think Tank. Hannah and Nando here, and today we're going to talk about toxic masculinity, and it actually comes from the dialogue of a clown. Now,
very in right now.
Bear with me. It is very in right now. Yeah.
Hot movie.
Yeah. Hashtag trending. So let's jump into this and read this tweet because it actually is very powerful, and I was actually moved to tears.
Really?
Yeah, I will tell you that I was moved to tears from this tweet thread. So let's go through it. At Bogus Press said, "Hey everyone, I'm a clown," which is a funny way to start a tweet thing.
Yeah.
But like you know, everybody's got to make a living. And I just got back from face painting at a picnic, and here's my take on male violence in America. It starts young, and it's more than just letting boys play with guns. It's how we shame them for feeling anything that isn't anger. A 4-year-old boy asked me to paint a blue butterfly on his face. Then his mom told me, no, he doesn't want that. The boy says, butterflies are beautiful. He said that's what he wants. Shouldn't I paint what he wants? No, give him something for boys, the mom says. She turns to the dad, a big guy in a jersey, and says accusingly, do you want your son to have a butterfly on his face? He says no. Which, cool, let's bring your husband's masculinity into it too, because your 4-year-old kid needs to know that his father would be ashamed too. I really tried, you guys, but this woman was so scared of her son wanting a butterfly, she made me paint a skull and crossbones on his cheek. When I finished the skull, I said to kiddo, you want a little blue butterfly too? He nods. Mom interrupts, you didn't ask me. I say, in my kindest fuck you voice, oh, I'm sorry, I thought this was for him. She said, I'm his mother, you need to ask me. Sorry, I say and wave goodbye to the kid, and I am. I'm sorry that he isn't allowed to love something as miraculous and beautiful as a blue butterfly. This story is very sad to me because whether it is a commentary on male violence in America, as this clown illustrates it as such, I think it's more of a commentary on gender stereotypes and feeling the need to sort of fall within a certain category and like certain things when you are presenting as a certain gender. And whether or not this kid identifies as boy or girl, whatever, like, you should be able to like blue butterflies even if that's deemed a girl thing by some power that be that established that as a girl thing for no apparent reason. Like you know what's so interesting is caterpillars, boy thing.
Are they? Are
Yeah,
they like, any
caterpillars
of the
are
thing?
like, well, they're like more boy. You know, it's
Okay.
like, oh, pick up the bug. But as soon as it like turns into a butterfly, then it's a girl thing. Whatever. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
And it's just gonna like F up this kid that you can't like these beautiful things, that you have to like skull and cross.
Yeah.
Like, that's a dead person on your fucking face.
Well, I think two things. So the interesting thing, one is that it's the mother furthering the stereotypes, right? Like she was like seemed to be the most like adamant person in this whole scenario. But I will say this: like, imagine if you had a child and a clown was like,
and telling you
how like
to
you know,
parent your kid.
and like kind of like subverting your kind of like wishes as a mother. Like you'd be like, clown, get away from me.
Yeah.
You know, like I get away from my 4-year-old.
Let's swap it, right? So if the boy came up and said, I want to
A skull and crossbones.
Or no, like I want to look like a Ninja Turtle.
Right.
Okay? And the clown was like, but don't you like really want to look like a princess or something like that? The mom would be like, what the fuck? But like the kid wanted the blue butterfly.
No. I'm not saying that the broader point is incorrect. I'm just saying that I do think I find it strange that a clown would want to, or anyone. Not just, I don't want to say like it's just because it's like she's a clown, but like or anyone that would like, you know, kind of really try to butt in and really be kind of parenting someone else's child. I don't know. Like I always. Everything I know about parenting is like when you have like a child, especially one as young as 4 years old, like you want to like it's your thing, you know, like not anyone else's thing.
And I don't think this mom is like malintentioned. She probably is good intentioned, right? She probably like wants her son to like fit in more and conform more so that he isn't made fun of, whatever. You know, like little kids are mean sometimes.
That'd be so like I mean, like you can imagine like a scenario in which she's just kind of like worried about like maybe protecting him in some way, as misguided as it may or may not be.
Right.
You know, like you know, maybe she wants to avoid him getting bullied or whatever.
Yeah.
But the broader point I think is correct that you know we do
But
live
I get
in a
that a clown like informing your parenting would be a little annoying.
Yeah.
I'm with you there. It just makes my heart break for all of the boys who are told like not to like certain things because it's not boy enough.
Yeah. Were you ever told that you weren't allowed to like something because it was too boy enough as a kid?
I was told by kids that I wasn't like I would go and I would try to play soccer. Like during recess, and the boys would be like, "No, like this is a boy sport. You can be a cheerleader." But that just shows.
Even though in America the girls are better than the boys at soccer. American girls win World Cups while the men are terrible.
Yeah, very true. But the young kids are like, no, girls do this and boys do this, and that's very sad to me. You know what I mean? When you think about like how that's probably changed so many people's trajectories in their lives, but also made people feel really not comfortable in their own body. And so I do think that even though this is sort of like an isolated incident and whether or not a clown should be telling a mother how to parent or not is a different story, but I do think we need to change
the broader
the
point
culture
is the broader point
around
stands.
gender stereotypes.
Yeah, the broader point stands.
So we're here to tell you today that like your blue butterflies, put them all over your body and
I have
just
a
love
butterfly tattoo on my. No, I'm kidding. I don't.
All right, then. Let us know what you think about this tweet thread and what you think or where you think Nando's butterfly tattoo is in the comments down below. And we'll see you guys soon. So if you're looking to spice up your sex life, you might be looking to maybe some chocolate sauce, another person, maybe some handcuffs, I don't know. But researchers have discovered one thing that will actually make your sex life better, and it is music.
Oh.
Now researchers at the Max Planck Institute I really appreciate that you pretended to be shocked even though I gave you this story ahead of time. Like the acting there was
I'm like Meryl Streep over here.
Yeah. Wow. I'm just like, I need a minute. You know what I mean? Like, it was just really believable.
I know.
So researchers at the Max Planck Institute for Human Cognitive and Brain Sciences in Germany conducted a series of experiments in which participants listened to music.
Those freaky deaky Germans, they probably just put like a bunch of David Hasselhoff on these people. Things got really sexy then.
As a robot simultaneously and discreetly stroked. I don't
That's creepy.
A robot discreetly
Just
how
like,
do you not notice that a robot's
Hannah Cranston, I'm going to stroke your arm right now.
as like what a lederhosen music is playing or something like that in Germany. I don't know. I'm being stereotypical. Now, participants' reactions demonstrated that the sexy music, all tunes were rated on a sliding scale as to the level of arousal they evoked, from not at all sexy to
Death metal.
extremely sexy.
Boys to Men.
Was linked to increased tactile arousal, regardless of whether one expected to be touched by a machine as opposed to an attractive human.
Hello.
Researchers believe that the same emotional mechanisms that govern how we perceive auditory inputs affect how we perceive touch. For example, aggressive music would be interpreted much like aggressive touch.
Maybe you're into
that. Sexy touch. What do you think about music in
the bedroom?
In the bedroom, and the boudoir.
Well, I think it's good. I'm pro it.
Yeah, you're pro music.
Yeah.
I'm anti-music.
You're anti-music. You like silence.
Yeah, pure silence. Not pure silence. Like you can make
noises.
You can speak to each other, one another, but the music is very distracting to me.
Yeah. You don't think it gets you into the rhythm?
No, because then I feel like, well, I don't need to get into this, but like I feel like if you're trying to like get with the rhythm of the music, then it's like you're like kind of dancing, and then you're just like I'm laughing.
And like,
you know
what if like the song changes, and then you're like, wait a minute, you know, like.
Like it's just too much. Like I need to be free flowing. I can't have music like holding me down. I can't, because then I'm gonna try to hit the beat. You know what I mean? I'm a slave to the rhythm.
Right. Let the rhythm take you over. But Hannah, you have never had a robot stroke in your forearm.
You don't know my life. I think maybe if a robot and I don't. What is some sexy music? I'm trying like Bruno Mars. Like Bruno Mars.
Bruno Mars, he's very sexy.
Sexy music and a robot.
Very white. Very white, sexy.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got like that low voice. Listen, baby.
Yeah, I feel like
the
only I give this a little bit of credence just because like sometimes when I'm in the car and I'm listening to like Bruno
Enrique
Mars.
Iglesias?
No, what's that Bruno Mars like? It's just like a gorilla or something song.
Gorilla, what are you into?
Yeah, no, I think that's what the song's called. Now I have to look it up. Yeah. So when I listen to that song in my car, I'll look up the lyrics for you. It's very dirty, and I honestly
very dirty.
Like I have to change the channel because I feel dirty in my car. I'm like, oh my god, people are driving by. It says you got your legs up in the sky with the devil in your eyes. Let me hear you say you want it all.
Say it now. Say it now.
We're banging on my chest, bang bang gorilla. Like they're making, and then people are. You just smile and tell me, "Daddy, it's yours." Like I feel dirty.
Bruno Mars is doing like a gorilla move while he's having sex.
Let's not judge other people.
In the second line, he says he's got a cocaine kicker, so that does sound like a cocaine. Like, like Bruno Mars doing. Oh, Bruno Mars got caught doing cocaine in a bathroom in Vegas.
Feet tall.
Yeah, this is more of a
giantess thing.
This is more of a cocaine song than a sex song, I think. Like.
Well, either way, I don't like listening to it in my car.
Right, because you get a little hot and bothered.
Well, I just feel like if people are listening to this, that they're gonna overhear and think that I'm like doing weird stuff in my car. I don't know. I try to listen to like normal music. Like, look what you made me do in my car, so people know not to fuck with me.
Tay-Tay?
Yeah. I don't know. So I'm curious. You're pro music.
I'm not like a music, absolutist. I don't need it.
But I also feel like if you're like in an apartment building and you're like blaring like let's get it on, everybody's up in your business.
No, but sometimes you need music to drown out the other noises from the neighbors. Do you see what I mean? Like you're almost doing the neighbors a favor. I mean, have you ever lived next to like a loud neighbor? I have.
Oh yeah, I had a roommate, but it wasn't like loud. It was just like the bed shaking.
Yeah,
but music's not going to change that.
It will change like moaning sounds. You might drown out that kind of stuff.
Just let people do their thing. I think it's.
I'm not like calling the cops on these people.
Sex is a beautiful thing.
I'm not calling the cops on people. I'm like, if you're my neighbor, be as loud as you want when you.
Better than playing gorilla.
Yes. Don't bring a gorilla home because that's dangerous. They will literally rip your face off.
Let us know if you guys think that sexy music makes you feel more sexy.
Or if you're into robots touching you.
or if that in the comments down below. And we'll see you guys soon. When you are sending in a resume, you're supposed to put all of this information about your schooling, your past work. Sometimes people put like their past times to add a little je ne sais quoi. But there are apparently some things that you should really leave out of your CVs. And we got these from employers on Ask Reddit. Things like weight and height. For real, this is for a call center, not a call for models. Have you ever like attached a photo or put your weight? I mean, I guess it's a little different.
Well, I have to say that a photo I find helps. So when I've definitely been in hiring. No, I've definitely hired people. You know, and I've had to hire like a large amount of people very quick. No. It's just like it helps like get like a. You know,
put a name.
You know, like because when you're getting hundreds of resumes, you know, like you need to be able to.
How are you supposed to pick the hottest? I don't know.
No, I don't do that. But I mean, I think research shows that like you know employers are more likely to hire someone that you know that they can like visualize.
Yeah, it's just like if you're like doing a job like behind a desk at a computer or whatever it may be, and you're not like in our industry where like your face is people. Whatever, like you don't really need your weight, height, or photo.
No, you don't need your weight, height, and you don't need your weight and height, obviously. But like, just like literally, just like a face to be able to like, okay, oh, this person. See, when you're sorting them out, like, because if not, like, you get you get like lost in the shuffle of like, you know, you can have like a brilliant resume, but they all kind of look the same. They're just like.
Are these just headshots or are they full body, Nando?
You're gonna get me so much trouble.
I'm sorry, all right, let's move on to the next one. This is according to this guy's wife. Stupid fonts. She said she once got a 4-page CV in Chiller font. Not a great angle if you want to work at a school. In case you aren't familiar, Chiller is the serial killer.
What does that mean? I don't buy that for a second.
Chiller font.
What, like all the serial killers are getting like together on the phone, like, you know, guys, we're gonna start using the
this
Chiller
is a
font.
little serial killery.
Sure, I guess, but like it's like they're not like
serial killery. Just use like Times.
New
Helvetic
Roman
has a lovely one.
Yeah.
Arial.
I do find that in CVs,
Comic Sans?
No, Comic Sans is gross. Injecting some sort of like honesty, or you know, like not just making it like a clinical like 3 to 5, you know, 3 years at this place, blah 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 blah. You know, like
you want like, hey, I worked here, but like I wasn't really good working here.
Whatever.
You want more
you know,
honest, like
something like.
Spent most of my time in the bathroom playing video games.
No, not that. You don't want to do that. But I remember my sister applied one time for a job at BuzzFeed, and she did her CV in the style of like a BuzzFeed post. And I thought that was very clever.
That's cute and clever.
Yeah,
that's
it was
great.
It was very clever. And I was
Good
like, she did like a whole design thing, and I was like,
that's
you know, like,
cool. Yeah, I guess
I remember thinking like that's the best CV I've ever seen in my life.
And it depends on the type of job, I think.
Yeah.
Like if
you're like a computer systems analyst or whatever.
Center, like maybe not. But if you're applying to something artsy like that, or like graphic design,
well, but
you
even
can show some of your work.
But a call center is like a good opportunity maybe to be creative and like maybe do like some sort of audio element to your CV. You know, being like showing that you
should give this people
have
advice
like
for a living.
you know be a little creative with your CV. You got. I mean, there's like sometimes people like you know, we live in a neoliberal hellscape where everyone's competing against each other, and you know the jobs are disappearing. You know, unfortunately, you know, whenever there's like one good job opening, there's thousands, if not tens of thousands, of CVs thrown in front of like some person's face. You know, you gotta figure out a way to stand out somehow.
Yeah, it's true. So we go back on when we said use Chiller font and threaten them maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Just like a little bit.
I will kill you and your entire family.
Yeah. Maybe that'll help you get a job. The next one, hobbies. Okay, so like talking about yoga, wine, and Netflix. Maybe not a great one.
Was that you?
This is from me.
Yeah.
This really resonates with me. But if you're gonna talk about hobbies, talk about things that are a little out of the ordinary, that'll make you stand out a little bit and maybe have something in common, right? So
I'm into live action role play.
Or like if you're like rock climbing or something
rock climbing.
Like I have a friend who really likes Betty White.
Dungeons and Dragons.
So she puts Betty White on her.
That's smart. But that's smart.
And people love that.
Yes, that's a good idea.
Every time she's in an interview.
Humor in a CV, I think, is always because any job, no matter what job it is, you know, security guard at whatever, like any job, you know, people like to be around funny people.
People like to be around people. They want to like people. choose people they want to be around because they're going to be sitting next with you.
I will say this, as a person who has done a lot of hiring in the past, CVs are highly misleading, and
sometimes the photo that he gets doesn't match the person. Sorry, I had to. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
But you know, my dad gave me a piece of advice one time that I thought was incredibly wise, which is surprising coming from him. No, I'm kidding. I love my dad. He's the best. But he said, never hire resume, hire character.
Oh, I love that.
And to be honest, that has borne out 100%. That resumes are overrated. Experience, like, because like
if you put say like hardworking.
Yeah, like say for example, like, you know, someone seems like to have like this great experience, like they worked at some great company on some great thing, you know, like, but like you never really know what they actually did there or how much they actually contributed to that success. Maybe it was successful in spite of them. Maybe it was maybe it was just successful and they were just kind of like there.
Yeah.
So you never really know. But if you always hire people with good character, no matter what, they will be able to help your organization in some way.
That's very good advice, Nando.
Thank you. Do not put that you are an avid amateur gynecologist on your resume. Don't do that. Just don't do that. Don't tell anyone that you're an avid amateur gynecologist. When you're on a date, don't say that. When you're
what does an amateur gynecologist mean?
That's like from
that's just I'm a hobbyist.
That's like Jason Segel's character in Knocked Up. He's an avid amateur gynecologist.
I don't remember.
I wonder if that's a reference to that.
Maybe. That's terrifying. Okay.
Loves delivering a good pap smear.
The next, you know what's real? No, I'm gonna go on a tangent. But it's so bizarre to me that like that's like there's people out there who like want to be in that position. Like being at the gynecologist is very important for your health, and you really need to go do it.
Yes, I go.
But at the same time, like it's not like a sexy experience. Like your legs are in stirrups, like they're like with a flat. You know, like you don't want that. It's not like I'm there. I'm like, oh, I'm getting healthy, but I'm not like.
Yeah. Oh,
you know what? Like this
sorry,
guy.
I didn't realize you were such a kink shamer.
Cute, yeah.
I didn't realize you were kink shaming all the people that are into gynecology stuff.
You can't be into gynecology. That's like saying like I'm really into like optometry and that turns me on.
Hey, there's people out there, you know.
Like
you never know.
Oncology, like that's a fucking weird ass thing to be into.
That's pretty morose, yeah.
Yeah, like no, just like no ologies. Just like you can be into whatever you want, but falsifying your medical expertise as a means to like get in somebody's pants, not okay.
Yeah, not okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Or in their eyes, if that's what you're into. If the optometry, like I don't know.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Lastly,
ear, nose, and throat doctor.
Grammatical errors. Spell check is built in. Use it. Also, look for things spell check won't catch. Like stalker and stalker are two very different things.
They are very different things. That's true. You don't want to say that you're a stalker.
Yeah.
On your resume.
Right.
Word of advice.
I wouldn't. What are other like sort of like ones like that are like really close? Like if you like don't finish writing like analyst or something like that, you could become into trouble where it's like still a word, but the spell check might not catch it.
Well, I'm just thinking like stalker and talker. Like if you're, you know, like I'm a good talker.
Yeah, and you accidentally add the S there. I mean, dangerous territory. Yeah. Guys, let us know if you've ever put something weird on your resume that somebody called you out for, or if you've seen a resume and somebody put something weird. Let us know about those in the comments down below, and we'll see you guys soon. Last week, we covered the squiggle brow, and both of us had major feels about that.
Yes.
This week, we have some breaking news. There's a new trend on the scene, and it is the McDonald's brow.
Have it your way.
And so this all started on the Huda Beauty Instagram, and she did her brows like this. So essentially what she did here, you can watch the full video on her Instagram, is she used like glue stick and powder to cover up her brows and then drew in her own brows, similar to what Nando was doing.
If you're trying this at home, very important, do not shave your eyebrows off. To do this.
Please do not.
Because that takes a long time to grow back, and you look weird.
Also, like, I wonder, I mean, I worry about gluing your brows too. I worry about putting glue on hair. Do you know what I mean? Like, that scares me.
Did you have a traumatic experience as
No, but I get waxed. Like, I know what that shit's like. I don't want to do that here.
Yeah.
That seems like it would hurt.
I got waxed once, yeah, I don't want that either.
Yeah. This picture of another McDonald's brow, she really got into the feathering of the brows.
Yeah.
Really.
Wow.
And I like that she added a little accessory. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bunny
She's
ears.
really getting in the mood. No, those are McDonald's ears.
Oh.
It's a bizarre thing. Like, it's just really high arch brows. Like, let's not give McDonald's all of the credit.
Yeah. We're giving them free advertising.
Yeah. This girl went full on McDonald's. I want to know, like, when these...
This is a joke, right? It's kind of a joke. This is not like a real trend.
No, I don't think we're going to see people in Vanity Fair's best dressed list wearing McDonald's brows. But you never know. Like, I feel like every single day, we've talked about this before, we're just getting closer and closer to the Capitol and Hunger Games.
Yeah.
And, like, maybe capitalism will get to a point where you do your makeup to fit your favorite brand. Like,
that is like the end point.
Like the
that is the
swoosh,
logical, the logical
on your
end point
eyebrows
of
or something. I'm trying to think of like what my favorite brand is. I don't know what my favorite brand is and what I would do. I like Apple. And I like eating apples, so maybe I've already succumbed. I don't know. But these are all a little interesting. Creative. I'm trying to put a positive spin on it. Out of this one and the squiggle brow, which do you think you'd be more likely to be
attracted to?
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say observer of, but you could be attracted to them as well.
Squiggle.
You would be attracted to the squiggle. And which one would you do yourself?
Squiggle.
Wow.
This one looks very weird to me. It's very unsettling. Something about it's like very unsettling.
This one looks like very first one looks like somebody who just had like teensy too much nip and tuck.
Too much nip and tuck. Yeah, she looks like I was gonna throw a reference that you would never get, so I'm just gonna abandon it. But yeah.
Maybe they'll get it.
Well, if you've ever seen the movie Escape from LA, when they go to like the plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills, it looks like that. No one's gonna get that reference.
You made that up.
Kurt Russell.
Let us know if you think you would try the McDonald's eyebrows. Maybe you have a different fast food chain. I don't know what Chipotle's thing is, but maybe you want to do your brows like that, or Taco Bell, or
Taco Bell brows.
What are other? Oh, you could do Carl's Jr. or what is it called on the East Coast? Hardee's, where you do a star. I don't know. Do your thing, and let us know what that thing is in the comments down below. And we'll see you guys soon.
Disney and Lucasfilm are no strangers to disturbances in the Force, and Episode 9 is no exception. Yeah, right?
What are we talking about?
We're talking about a directorship for Episode 9 of Star Wars.
That's IX for those of you who are not very good with Roman numerals, as I am.
Absolutely.
Episode X.
And just to clarify some things, no, I'm not Kim Horcher. She's on vacation.
Hi, everyone. We're Kim Horcher.
She's missing. She will be back. I know changes are scary. It's the internet. My name is Xander Genre, and I'm joined here by Michelle Nguyen.
Just mess it up. It's fine.
Michelle Nguyen.
You just say Nguyen.
Nguyen now.
Everyone
Chubby Bunny.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Michelle, are you a Star Wars fan?
I do. I watch the Star Wars.
Yeah.
Except when there's Roman numerals, I'm like, which one is this? Past 3 is very confusing.
Yeah. I was really excited with what J.J. Abrams did with Force Awakens.
I love Force Awakens.
I really did.
A lot of people had some poo-pooing to say about it, but guys, just enjoy things. Just let people like things.
So do you think that we'll get more of the same now that Episode 9 is being helmed by J.J. Abrams? They've kind of returned.
I think so.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I believe so. JJ's only done me wrong like once, and I feel like
was it a lens flare thing?
No, I generally like his movies, and I think there has been a trend of the Star Wars franchise kicking off the younger directors, and we're like, or just there's always creative differences,
right?
And no one's allowed to say what they are, so we have to just guess.
I feel like with a franchise like Star Wars, it's so important to so many people that young directors or people in the industry will jump at the chance to work at something that they've always wanted to work on. But if they're not ready, or if they have a different creative vision,
not old enough to have understood the fandom long enough,
there is something to be said about bringing experience to the table, and especially with a big company like Disney, they can't afford to have something like Star Wars Episode 9 flop.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, I mean, he showed he could do it with Hopeful Wings. I almost said Rogue One. There's so many Star Wars.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's an example too when we have the Han Solo movie.
Yeah.
The Solo
Wait. So what's
movie.
the order? What that?
8.
8.
Yeah.
Great. And then the one next year is Han Solo.
And then it'll be 9.
Then it'll be 9.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But they've got to do it now. These movies take so long to make that you have to make all of these decisions now.
Well, they have to do now if they want to have a Star Wars movie every year.
Exactly, yeah.
Which is, I guess, what we're getting now.
Yeah, it prints money.
We're at a Harry Potter movies. Oh, no, wait, we're not. Yeah. Is there going to be more Lord of the Rings movies? Because there were the Hobbit movies.
And then let's split that up into 3. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, back to the Han Solo movie. They went back to Ron Howard as a producer, which is another old favorite. And, you know, we're going to get, everybody can bring a new creative energy to the table, but I think Star Wars fans are a little bit afraid that it's going to be more of the same, especially since Force Awakens was basically a rehashing of Episode 4, just with new skins.
Well, you can't get it all right. Yeah. I did appreciate that when Han Solo was taken over by Ron Howard, all of the animated gifs that came up. Yeah. There was all like Arrested Development.
Yeah.
And that's when he knew he was in trouble.
Oh man, so audience, what do you think? Are you excited for the new Episode 9 of Star Wars, especially with J.J. Abrams at the helm? Make sure to comment down below and like and subscribe for more. Apple has announced a couple of new products. Are they good enough to upgrade for, or do they just hate the number 9?
That's right, everyone.
Yeah,
welcome to the iPhone 8, 8 Plus.
And the X or 10.
10.
Who knows?
It says X. They said 10 in the commercial.
They did, yeah.
But
they're writing it out like a Final Fantasy. It's iPhone X.
Or why are we changing the Final Fantasy numbers? Once they get past 10, it's going to become a problem.
Yeah, well, it's allegedly, no, it is the 10th anniversary of the iPhone. So if they had released a new one every year, then it would be the 10. So they just announced the 10 and the 8 and the 8 Plus.
Yes.
And so a lot of the features you can see if you go and take a look at the commercial video.
Very long commercial video for the iPhone X/10.
Yeah,
Let's call it that, X/10. Let's make it longer.
Did you like bevels on your phone? Too bad, they got rid of them. No more beveling, so the screen goes out all the way on the sides, and there's no more home button.
Right, but it exists, you just can't see it. It's just part of the touch screen now.
Right.
So they extended the screen all the way to the bottom of the phone. The beveling thing is dumb anyway. Because when you have curved corners, that allows more of the glass to hit the floor when you drop it. Y'all are gonna drop your phones, just so you know.
Not only that, but they're adding a glass thing to the back as well, like you did with the original iPhone.
Sweet summer child. So when you put glass in the front of your phone and the back of the phone, let me show you what happens. Because I have a Samsung S7. You can break the back of your phone and the front of your phone now.
Yeah, but at least you can cover that up.
Yeah, and this used to be waterproof, and I just don't think it is anymore. I just try to avoid that situation.
Yeah. So you're an Android user, and I am an Apple iPhone user. So I'm always excited when new stuff comes out. But you had mentioned before that a lot of this technology already exists, especially like in the Android market.
I understand why iPhone users are very excited, because if you are built into the Mac system, you have a Mac, you have all the watches and the ding dongs and the headphones and all the things that need charging.
My Apple ding dongs.
Yeah, Apple ding dongs. You have to charge them, and it's annoying to plug all the ding dongs in. So if you have just one ding dong,
just one big old ding dong.
Just so you guys know, we're talking about wireless charging.
Oh, are we?
Wireless charging.
I thought we were talking about my college dating career.
Yeah. So if you guys watch the, you can't. I just got the part out.
The big old ding dong on her desk. Anyway, sorry.
So wireless charging is now available for all products. You can get like one slab of charging and just throw all your stuff on it, and then it'll all charge. But
it looks like the new phones, an Apple Watch, the new EarPods, which I've already lost.
How'd you lose it?
Yeah, because they're so tiny.
Were you walking just fast, a little bit
I
typically?
was, yeah. A big gust of wind.
You put them down for 1 second, and then
And they're gone.
A small rabbit came by and ate it.
Yeah. But let's talk about this a little bit too. With the iPhone 10, they're talking about the price is going to break that $1,000 mark, which a lot of companies have been trying to avoid because people don't want to pay that much for a cell phone.
So as an Apple user, do you find that you buy your phones outright, or do you just do the plan thing? Where you get a new
definitely do a plan, yeah. And the thing is, I am okay with not having the most up-to-date iPhone. Like,
which most people are not.
Which I know, there are a lot of fans out there that will be in line ready to buy both the 10 and the 8 and the 8 Plus, like,
get out
at launch. I know, but you know, I do get excited about new features because I want to live in the Star Trek world where we're in the future and everything just happens with this magic doodad I have in my pocket.
So the magic of the wireless charging is magic that existed since 2013 on other phones. So welcome to our past. iPhone users.
One thing that both the 8 and the 10 are bringing up is the facial security feature, because there is no more home button, so it's not with fingerprints anymore. It's by recognizing your face, which is interesting.
And as we were talking before we started shooting, the face recognition does not have a very good track record recognizing non-Caucasian features. And I will admit that, like, if me and my best friend, who's also Asian, put on like exactly the same black wig, I look at a picture, I'm like, oh shit, which one's me? So I'm so excited for my iPhone friends to get their iPhones and for me to start messing with their cameras. Because like, I want to see if this really works. I'm not 100% convinced. I don't believe it at all, actually.
That's one of the things that I've kind of liked about Apple waiting to release like new technology is that other phone companies may have released it sooner, but maybe Apple has perfected it or at least have a better understanding on how the technology works.
They've had time and a lot of money to throw at the problem, and $1,000 of your own pocket money to throw at the problem. So,
so if you're not willing to break that 1,000 mark, there is the 8 and the 8 Plus, which boast a lot of the same features, but they're going to be smaller and, like we said, cheaper.
The iPhone 8 and the 8 Plus are starting to be on sale this Friday for $699.
Right. And it's the same 4.7-inch screen and the 5.5-inch screen as the 7 and the 7 Plus. So you'll get some of the technological upgrades, but it'll still kind of look like your phone.
But not shattered in 20 different places.
Yeah, it will.
Waiting to be shattered.
What do you think, audience? Do you think that the 8, 8 Plus, or the 10 are worth upgrading for? Are you going to be first in line at the Apple Store the morning they come out? Let us know in the comments down below, and make sure to like and subscribe for more. We no longer have to turn to Themyscira for some badass female warriors. Now we can look at actual history. What?
What's history? What's Themyscira? What's going on?
So there was a new genetic analysis of a skeleton that was found in Norway at the University of Uppsala.
In the 1880s.
Yeah.
So it's been a bit.
So it was a Viking warrior, and allegedly they had first found out that it might have been a woman in the 70s, but nobody bothered to like follow up because that's not important.
Also, like, the technology didn't exist.
Yeah, that's true.
I couldn't figure it out. Yeah. Minds.
So we just did the cultural assumption that this was a warrior. Therefore, it was a man.
Sure.
And so now we do have the technology to analyze the DNA, and they found out that it was 2 X chromosomes.
It was a lady.
It was a lady, and not only was it a lady, but it was a lady with a warrior grave that had a battle knife, a spear, a sword, an axe, 2 horses. There it is, and a full set of gaming pieces and a gaming board. So she was a gamer girl.
I love D&D.
I love D&D.
Yeah. I like that. So is she sitting upright in the artist's recreation?
I think so, because she's a lady and she's got to keep her legs closed. I don't know.
Squished horses.
I think this is really exciting though, because we've heard in Norse mythology, you have like the Valkyries or big female characters that are out and kicking ass, and today's historians have been like, those are just stories. That can't actually happen, and now we've got proof that the ladies were fighting side by side.
And more than I think, I mean, women Viking fighters did exist for sure, but also that she was an officer, she was a top-ranking person.
Yeah. Someone who commanded respect.
Is what they think the chessboard and all that stuff seems to indicate. But they also said the skeleton didn't show any signs of injury, so it could have been a natural death. It could have been
That's how you know that she was a good warrior, because nobody could touch her. John Cena.
What?
No, but I think this is really cool, and it's a step forward, especially when feminist issues are such a hot button topic right now. For us to look back at our past and maybe reevaluate what we've assumed, especially when it comes to anthropology.
Yeah, I would like to say that there's a lot of, in the article that we're referencing, a lot of scuttlebutt about, well, there must be a man somewhere.
Yeah,
he must just be missing from this grave. It's like, guys, just let it. Why are you looking around for a male skeleton?
Yeah, he probably wandered over to another lady's
we'll
coffin.
Just keep digging until we find him. He must have walked out.
Boys will be boys. So dumb. Audience, what do you think? Should we reevaluate our anthropological finds to see if there are women that had positions of power, or should we just kind of leave it as it is and continue on our merry way? Comment down below and make sure to like and subscribe for more. Wonder Woman smashed box office records and our expectations of the DC cinematic universe.
Hey.
Can they do it again?
Hey. Yes, they can.
Luckily, Patty Jenkins is now attached officially to the Wonder Woman sequel, which is great.
Right.
I loved what she did with the first one, and I'm super excited to see what she'll do in the future, because I feel like you really saw her footprint. Is that the right word? Handprint? You saw her mark in Wonder Woman.
Yeah, got there.
Yeah.
I think it is almost unbelievable. Well, it's unbelievable to me as a woman, but it's almost unbelievable that they didn't sign her on for a contract for sequels,
right?
Because they didn't believe it would succeed.
Yeah, but it kind of went in her favor, I would assume. They haven't released the numbers or anything like that, but because she didn't sign a contract, she could probably demand more money because it was such a success.
I hope so.
You want to do it again? You got me, but it's gonna cost you. And so that was kind of like the lady tax that they had to pay.
The lady tax. Well, we don't know if that's scuttlebutt. We did. This is not.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm Variety.
We're gossip mongering. This is what the news might be like in the future.
Yeah. Well, but they were cutting it close because they've already set the release date at December 13th, 2019.
Yes.
And that's not a lot of time to make a big budget superhero movie.
Yeah. So it's like, just pay the lady who made the great movie about this Wonder Woman, and then you can have another great Wonder Woman movie. What is so hard about this math?
I know. It's not like they would do this with the Batman franchise or with Superman.
Poor Batmans.
Poor Batman.
All the Batmans.
Yeah.
Poor Supermans. They're just not holding it together.
But yay for Wonder Woman.
Yes.
You know, they did something right, and not only was it well received critically, but also just for us normies that are watching it as well. People really liked it.
And it's always scary when someone says, "Oh, it's a female lead," and "Oh, it's directed by a woman." If literally anything goes wrong, they'll blame it on one of those two things. And then this movie came out and was kind of just like,
slap in the face.
5 stars across the board. It was just like there's no way to refute the hard numbers of the sales of that movie and the reception of the movie.
Yeah. You got facts, man.
Patty Jenkins.
Patty Jenkins. What about you, audience? Are you excited to see what Patty Jenkins will bring to the table for Wonder Woman 2? Let us know in the comments down below, and make sure to like and subscribe for more. Kim Horcher's gone.
And for more news about Kim Horcher, don't look at her Twitter. It's a ruse. Ruse.
Stephen King's It is out in theaters, and some book fans are worried about a controversial scene. But don't worry, we're gonna talk about it. Spoilers ahead for the movie It.
But it's not in the movie.
There it is. There's the spoiler.
Oh, whoops.
No, it's okay.
All the It book readers who haven't seen any,
any of the miniseries or
they're all like, no, nerd alert.
Yeah.
Ruined
so, It is about this monster, this demon. They don't really explain it in the movie because I have seen it, but it takes on the form of whatever you fear the most. And it terrorizes this group of kids in a small town in the 80s. And in the book, the kids kind of get lost in the sewer system, and it's apparently like this big old metaphor of them having sex with the one girl in the group as a transition into manhood. And she's like, this is what we must do to bring us together. It's like, all right, Beverly, settle down.
Yeah, because apparently they start to kind of mentally fall apart. Just like, no, we have to stay together. And then in the book, to do that, they have an orgy. Stephen King
in the sewers.
Yep, Stephen King was like, "This is the only way to show the togetherness of children."
That's the direct quote, but we do have the quote from Stephen King. We want to pull it up. I wasn't really thinking of the sexual aspect of it. Intuitively, the losers knew that they had to be together again. The sexual act connected childhood and adulthood. Now that is the nickname that they kind of gave their group of friends, is the losers. So they would be like, "Welcome to the losers."
I wasn't thinking about the sexual aspect when I penned in several sex acts into this sex scene.
I mean, the 80s was a crazy time, and
and Stephen King was a little off the rails in the 80s also.
Yeah, Stephen
He's
King
calmed down a bit.
He like built up his reputation of having like shocking, weird, gross things in his novels, and I think that this was no exception. Even though, like looking back at it, is like maybe this was problematic and we shouldn't have had it, especially with like the lack of protection or like sexual awareness, and like these are children.
Yeah, and there's so many other ways to show that, you know, to bond them together. Like you could have done it through writing.
Yeah, well, Cary Fukunaga, who was originally on board to do the screenplay for it, Cary Fukunaga and Chase Palmer, their original screenplay had her kind of going to each of the boys and had Beverly like touching them in the face, and like it was a connection, it was a moment, and they scrapped that, and they were gone from the project due to creative differences. And the character of Beverly has changed so much from like what you see in the original screenplay for this movie as to what has been released in theaters. She's kind of troped out and put into that damsel in distress mode.
The boys have to get together to save her.
Right.
Because she gets taken by the clown man.
Yeah.
I just, you know, and then it ends with like a Hollywood kiss, and spoilers, but just seriously, like why do they're children, like goodness sakes. Goodness sakes.
I mean, I will say that it does kind of play towards the 80s tropes, and so when you're watching it, I think they wanted to invoke kind of that nostalgia that like Stranger Things did, where it feels like an 80s movie, and those kind of elements lend itself to feeling like an 80s movie. But it's 2017, we don't have to live in the 80s.
Yeah,
you know?
it's true.
The woman doesn't have, or the lady doesn't have to be in distress, you know what I mean? The girl character.
Yeah, and then like literally 3 characters don't have to be in love with her.
Exactly.
It's okay, we can just be friends.
Yeah.
No,
and I think that's what Stranger Things did well. Like not only was Eleven a badass, but she was a friend, and like there was a little bit of the love thing, but
but it was mostly like just the bond of the friendships. Like the other boys who she did not, like Eleven didn't have like a romantic interest in or whatever, was just they were just like, but we still like, you know, need you and you're part of our group.
You're important, Yeah, so audience, let us know what you thought of the new It movie and where the character of Beverly was taken. And if you are disappointed that they left out the orgy scene, go ahead and leave that comment down below. And make sure to like and subscribe for more. Kim Horcher is tented up in my backyard. She's going through a rough time right now. In the future, tech companies could own our lives, or at least the tech that could save it.
Yay!
How's that for a cold opening? Is it Skynet yet?
Skynet time!
So Tesla, the car company, unlocked some special features of Tesla owners' cars in Florida due to Hurricane Irma. And so this special feature, which they could have paid more for when they bought the car, extends the mileage of the car and of what they can get with one charge.
For extra 30 miles. And I believe they didn't actually do this themselves. Well, someone who owned a Tesla like called them to ask, like, hey, I'm trying to escape this hurricane.
Yeah, please fix my car.
Is there a way I could just get this? It's a lot of money, but can I just get it like for free? And they were like, oh shit, we should just like, not a direct quote, we should just do that for everybody and not be evil, an evil corporation. So they did that.
Said the CEO of Tesla, I'm sure.
It's me, the CEO of Tesla in disguise.
Oh shit, we should probably do that.
So I guess a lot of what this article points to is that it's scary that they could have just not done it. They could have held them hostage for, okay, give us your credit card numbers and then maybe we'll let you escape.
Right.
Because they had that power.
That it's motivated by like the PR that could come out of this as opposed to just let's help some people. But it's not a government decision, it's not a consumer decision, it's it's a decision by an independently owned company. Whether or not the mileage will help them escape the hurricane or evacuation. Like that's kind of not the point of the whole thing. It's that they have this power and it's just a wealth gap that is separating people from getting that extra mileage out of a car that they own. It's
interesting to see that I don't know the exact numbers for the price difference between the non-extra 30 miles and the with the extra 30 miles. But the thing is that if you they've already made the car and it has all the stuff in it, you know?
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, so it costs them X amount of money to make the car.
Right.
And for you to have to pay a different amount of money for like a cheaper version, even though all that stuff's still in there, is strange because you basically don't own the car. They still own it.
Yeah.
You know, they own like 20% of it or whatever you're paying for.
Well, I mean, and to be fair, it does make sense from a business standpoint of like, let's try this new thing where we're basically adding DLC for your car, where we have these extra features. It's the same thing as like air conditioning or, but now it's a matter of safety. But it's already like air conditioning or satellite radio or whatever. It's all set up to be there, but you have to buy the thing to do the thing.
Sure.
But it's not a safety feature. It's not like, well, if you want seatbelts, you're gonna have to pay more.
Yeah. And in this case, I think the argument is that this is like a life and death issue. If it could save people, the government couldn't force them to add those miles back on or to let them escape their doom.
And that it's so simple, or at least it seems so simple, as like a push of the button from a company.
Do we have a GIF of someone just pressing a button? Because
in the control panel, like, oh, Florida, go ahead, release.
We're doing so much speculating. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, no.
This is the fake news you've warned about.
Oh God, no. But yeah, it says in the article, the issue boils down to the company having complete control over when it gets to remotely intervene in extreme situations with virtually no accountability to its owners. So it's not the government stepping in and saying you should do this, or I might have been a customer asking for it, but it's strictly in the hands of one company. And if they decided not to do it, then lives could have been lost.
To be fair though, like in the article it does also mention that the way the charging units are set up, that they wouldn't have like lost charges before they got less than 30 miles out of the thing.
So it was more of a PR stunt than an actual need. But it could change in the future. So let us know down in the comments below, would you be happy with something like this where you have a thing that you own that a company could add features to remotely? Or do you want to own the thing when you buy it? Let us know and like and subscribe for more.
Kim Horcher still missing.
Kim Horcher's gone.
Day 5?
Day 40. And they still haven't discovered that she's in with the llamas in disguise. Streamer and YouTuber PewDiePie is in trouble again. And what does it say about gaming culture? Let's talk about it. He said a naughty word on stream.
A word you can't even say. You call it the N-word.
The N-word, yeah. And his defense was that it was like the heat of a gaming moment and it just kind of slipped out.
And it was a live stream, so he couldn't go back and edit it out.
Yeah, I think we have a video of that too.
Jeez, oh my God, what the fuck? Sorry, but what the fuck? What a fucking asshole. I don't mean that in a bad way, Jesus fuck.
And he knows that he messed up when he said that. There's no excuse, but this has been happening in the gaming world forever. Since microphones have been invented, there have been kids that have been on these services just screaming the most offensive
the worst things you can think of.
Yeah, and that's the whole like culture around it, is that it started off with people, it's childish. It's kids saying words that think will get a rise out of whoever they're playing against, and the words just devolve into layers of like heinousness.
Definitely, and it's not the first time he's been in trouble. PewDiePie was in the media recently for lots of other terrible things, but on Twitter, the company behind the game he was playing, Firewatch, Camposanto.
So he was playing PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, but it's the same developer who's coming out with Firewatch. He came out with a series of tweets. We're filing a DMCA takedown of PewDiePie's Firewatch content in any future Camposanto games. He's worse than a closeted racist. He's a propagator of despicable garbage that does real damage to the culture around this industry. I'd urge other developers, and we'll be reaching out to folks much larger than us, to cut him off from the content that has made him a millionaire. Furthermore, we're complicit. I'm sure we've made money off the 5.7 million views that video has, and that's something for us to think about. Lastly, I love streamers. I watch them daily, and we set out over 3,000 keys to professional and amateur streamers of Firewatch. And so this is one of the first times that a developer is coming forward and saying like, we're allowing you to stream these games, and we're allowing you to share our content, and you're making money off of it, and this is content that we don't support. And
so we should be allowed to take it down.
Yeah,
definitely. The only reason people are allowed to stream this stuff is, like you said, they don't come after them. Technically, you're not supposed to stream put anything on the internet that you don't own.
Right.
So if you're streaming a reaction video or a video playthrough, it's the Digital Rights Millennium Act that usually prohibits this, but game developers do generally make money off people streaming it and other people watching and going, oh, that looks fun too, I'll play.
I want to play that game too.
In this case, what Sean's argument is that PewDiePie is spreading the idea that all gamers, the very popular gamers, are racist buttholes. Is what I'm gonna say about that.
Yeah, it's definitely damaging for the community as a whole, but also for his own brand. I mean, he's no stranger to this kind of like controversy because for whatever reason he can't seem to control his mouth. And you could chalk it up to that English is not his first language, so the things that he learned he's gleaned from other people, but that's still no excuse. You have to be responsible when you have a platform that large for your actions.
And I think it's totally fine for them to be like, take it down, and it is down. It's already been taken down.
Yeah,
so.
But I believe that PewDiePie has issued an apology as of this morning, and so I think we got a video clip of that.
I'm disappointed in myself because it seems like I've learned nothing from all these past controversies. And it's not that I think I can say or do whatever I want and get away with it. That's not it at all. I'm just an idiot. But that doesn't make what I said or how I said it okay. It was not okay. I'm really sorry if I offended, hurt, or disappointed anyone with all of this. Being in the position I am, I should know better.
Yeah, it just seems like a really general apology of like someone forced him to make this.
You know what they say about you're not really sorry that you did the thing, you're sorry you got caught.
Yeah.
He's really sorry he got caught.
Right.
For sure. And for him to say, this makes me so, this is a very like privileged thing that's happening. For him to say, it's not that I think that I can get away with it, it's that I'm an idiot. It's that it makes me so mad. It's like, but the reason you're making this apology video is so that you can get away from it and keep making money off these videos. Maybe you didn't think you could get it or whatever, but like you are, like if you think that if people like you again, you're gonna make this video, people are gonna be like, oh, he's fine. Let's forgive him.
He called himself an idiot. It's fine.
He's just a dumb kid.
Right.
It does not exclude the fact that he's making all this money off people and influencing his fans to, because he's making a lot of money, influence his fans to be like, wow, I should be like him. Right?
Yeah.
And when you're a role model, there's consequences to everything you say.
Absolutely.
So. I mean, it's better than him not apologizing, right?
That's true.
And how are we to judge how apologetic he feels in his heart?
Yeah.
But I don't care. Yeah. I don't really care.
Yeah. Well, how about you guys? Make sure to leave a comment down below. Was him getting the videos taken down? Is that enough of a punishment? Is this kind of PR firestorm enough of a punishment? Or should he just be able to do whatever he wants because he's just a YouTuber? Let us know in the comments down below. Make sure to like and subscribe for more. In a wild act of democracy, packs of wild African dogs are voting on group decisions by sneezing.
Achoo!
Bless you.
Achoo! Let's go kill things. Do you agree? Press 1 if you agree.
Yeah. No, this is fascinating. It turns out that packs of African dogs are making collective decisions by how many times they're sneezing or like agreeing with each other. We've got a video that I think will clear some of this up.
Or will it?
Or will it?
From Aiden, from Xerxes.
That was the best clip we've ever shown.
It's just dogs sneezing. Oh, they definitely made a decision there.
Yeah.
As a dog owner, which you can follow on her Instagram, I am Chubby Bunny of Moogie on there.
Moogie the pup.
Moogie the pup. Does Moogie ever sneeze, and do you fear for your life?
Well, there's actually been other studies done of domestic dogs where if domestic dogs sneeze while they're interacting with another dog, it's to show that they're just playing.
Oh, and not just that some pollen got up their nose.
Yeah, and well, I think sometimes my dog sneezes because she's just sneezing. But in this scientific case, it is very different.
Yeah. Well, we've got some quotes from some of the scientists that were leading the charge on this. I wanted to better understand this collective behavior and noticed the dogs were sneezing while preparing to go. We recorded details of 68 social rallies from 5 African wild dog packs living in the Okavango Delta in Botswana and couldn't quite believe it when our analyses confirmed our suspicions. conclusions. Yeah, that's from Neil Jordan, the researcher.
He was just staring at the dog so long, he was like, oh shit, they're all sneezing, and then they start doing something right after it. But like how soon after? Like, is it like 5 minutes, 10 minutes? In the video, it's just like they sneeze and they just stare at each other.
I feel like this is a scenario where it's like you get a bunch of like prisoners and they're trying to communicate without the guards noticing. So they've created a series of like taps and sneezing.
No, they just can't talk because they're doggies.
Oh, that's true. But also the dogs are like, the humans are watching. Sneeze a bunch and confuse them. Oh man. But yeah, it said the more sneezes that occurred, the more likely it was that the pack moved off and started hunting. The sneeze acts like a type of voting system. So it makes you wonder, are the dogs counting? Like how many votes?
Apparently, in some cases, it says if the dominant dogs did not sneeze, then the rally would only take place after 10 or more sneezes from the non-dominant doggies.
Doggies!
Doggos! Let's just call them doggos. They're just doggos.
Yeah.
Which is weird. I didn't know that dogs could vote in packs. I know dogs do operate in a pack culture, well, most dogs. So it's interesting to see that in this case there's like a number, they are counting. They can count to 10-ish.
Or at least acknowledging the difference between them, that they're not, okay, this is not another dog, this is like Jim, and that's Pam, and this is
right.
like the wild African office.
It's not the same dog sneezing 10 times and trying to get 10 votes in.
Yeah.
Wait, is that in the article? Did they check for that?
We need a recount. Can you sneeze again? All right, Jeremy, stop sneezing so much. Are we running or not? God damn it, Derek.
So this goddamn it, Derek situation is called quorum behavior.
Thanks for reining it in and bringing it back to the science.
Quorum behavior is when a minimum number of votes is needed to require a group of animals to do something. It's been observed in meerkats, honeybees, mountain gorillas.
I would love to see some honeybees sneezing up a storm just to make a decision.
They didn't say it was sneezing, but and white-faced capuchin monkeys. Capuchin, but like I don't know what they do. Maybe the honeybees just like fly like in a reverse circle.
Yeah, and
then
the honey goes everywhere.
We're wildly speculating, guys. Again, just so you know.
Derek the honeybee just keeps on voting.
The monkeys just go like this every time they vote.
Oh boy. All right. So now that you've had your science update, let us know what you think about this. Are they sneezing to create a democracy and a voting system, or did they just get something in their cute little doggo noses? Let us know in the comments down below, and make sure to like and subscribe for more. Kim Horcher will be back soon, I'm sure.
We received a lot of.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. We're gonna get right into it, but first let me just tell you what's on the docket. We have a kind of due date for Kim Kardashian. Fashion Week banned certain models. We'll tell you what models. And then we're gonna talk about Title IX, which you should know about, and an interesting wedding. So let's get into it right now. Kim and Kanye having another baby. You had heard rumors about it, that they had gotten a surrogate and they paid her a bunch of money. Well, now it is being reported that the due date is just around the proverbial corner in January. So Kim Kardashian will add a new sibling to North and Saint West after having reportedly paid $45,000 to a surrogate. What do we think? 5 words or less.
Already more famous than me.
More power to her, yay?
Yay. Name the baby a sound. Like, because they've already done North, which is a direction, Saint, which is just.
It's royalty.
This kid's gonna feel entitled enough as a West.
Saint West.
Not like Flark West. West.
What if they name her? What if they're just like Jennifer West?
That would be the worst. Or like
Megan
West.
Yeah, right.
Megan. Alyssa West. Down the middle.
Oh my gosh.
Jessica West. Stripper name.
First of all, we reported on this a couple weeks ago when they initially talked about the surrogacy with Kim Kardashian, and $45,000 seems like chump change in comparison to what Kim made last year and what this woman has to do to carry the baby. Okay, so some surrogates get upwards of $100,000 in addition to gifts and stuff like that from couples that want to have a baby. But $45,000 seems kind of like a low ball. It's like going to buy like a Volkswagen Passat. I want to buy this car for like $15,000. Nah, it's worth $20,000. Kim goes to the surrogate and it's like, hey, listen, I'm gonna give you $45,000. Is that good?
And you can say you had my baby.
No, I figure like this with the amount of money. First of all, you can't put a price on life. I just want to start by saying that. But now that they did put a price on life, I feel like Kim should have been like, listen, honey, I'm gonna give you $150,000, maybe a car. You know, or something else. $45,000 isn't a lot of money.
You think she's not paying her rent? You think she's not paying her car payment?
Definitely paying for a place
So there's additional accoutrements that are going on?
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. Heather, enlighten me.
I've never had a surrogate before. I don't know.
You should try it. It's great.
How is it now?
It's so easy. It's a dream.
Yeah, no, I feel like there's definitely some sort of contract thing that they have where, yes, you know, you get a lump sum of like 45,000 plus. Maybe she's paying for, you know, her to stay somewhere.
She's getting all her meals.
Okay. Doctor appointments. I bet she's taken care of.
I get the extreme toll on your body, not to mention the weird feeling. I saw that show on Bravo where the guy flips houses, flipping out. They had a surrogate baby, and it is so weird that they just like the woman's up there and they're having the assistant hold a leg, and then it's like and then they just take the baby, hand it over to the parents, and they're just holding it, doing like skin on skin contact, like you're supposed to do.
Meanwhile, the person's just like, oh, dead. It's like dead.
What now? Over there is that thing. I must be like. At that point, you just have to think of it like taking the world's most rewarding poo. Like it's over.
But y'all are giving Kim the benefit of the doubt here. She actually did have medical issues.
I mean,
she had very risky pregnancies.
Absolutely.
And if they wanted to grow their family, this was really the only option to do it biologically.
Well, we saw it on the Kardashians. We saw it on Keeping Up with the Kardashians that she was really, and that's what some people online were like chastising and lambasting Kim for not doing it the natural way, but she couldn't. And so I'm a Kim Kardashian supporter. I like Kim. I think that in the last 2 years, we've seen her just really evolve into someone who's actually a nice person. I mean, I don't know her personally, but I think that she means well. She's not this vapid, vacuous, lame person that people always want to associate her with. She's definitely coming to her own. Her recent Jackie O shoot.
Oh, I loved it.
Fantastic.
I loved it.
And then Brett, you covered on in a 2-shot her climbing a tree.
Okay, I have so many issues with that one. It's just so random.
It is random.
It's so random. She's wearing combat boots and that's it.
Yeah.
It's just like an awkward pose. I just don't fully understand.
You're forgetting that she is the master of getting you to talk about her. And what did we do?
Talk about her.
We talked about her.
Yeah,
if she was closed in the tree, who would have cared?
I want to talk about surrogacy. I get it. And I especially get it if you're Kim Kardashian going like, I've done this twice already.
Yeah.
And my fiance, she's always talking about like, it sounds so tempting to do surrogacy. And then you just listen to like your mom say, oh, but it was so nice to have a connection with you to nurture you. It's an unparalleled experience that like, I guess in order to really understand like most things, what your parents are telling you, you have to go through it. You're just like, all right, mom, shut up. I'm gonna go do it.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on?
If I had like a medical emergency like him, where it literally was, you know, going to be a huge risk to my life and maybe the baby's life to have that child, then yeah, it's definitely something that I would consider.
I actually talked to my mother about this morning, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, Kim Kardashian, she's such a wuss." My mom she's not caught up. She doesn't know about the medical stuff.
Right.
But she asked me, and I was like, maybe if I had unlimited funds, maybe it sounds. You're right. It's so tempting. It's so tempting.
I applaud women who partake in surrogacy because I had a friend who was donating her eggs, and my friend actually said she would donate her whole uterus if she could. She didn't want any children. But I think women that give of their body to bring happiness to another person, that in itself is like admirable. Because I can never have a baby, you know, and I will never be able to experience that joy. So I think women that partake in that, more power to them. That's good for them. And I think the prices need to go up. I mean, you guys make good points that maybe Kim was giving them a per diem, buying them food, sushi.
Just to make sure.
No sushi. No dyeing hair. None of that.
My fiance, the things she likes most are raw steak, sushi, and drinking.
You're never having kids.
You can't do that with kids.
Cannot.
It is like they just went through things to piss her off, and things just got them off the list. To your point about having kids, there's a really interesting study, this last point, is that there with animal experiments, whether you like them or not, one thing they've been able to do is change skin or cells that aren't reproductive cells into reproductive cells. So the hope being eventually they could take like skin cells, put them down to stem cells, develop them into, even if you're a male, an egg, and take the sperm from your partner and have babies, same-sex people combining their DNA together to make a baby.
That's cool. Miraculously fascinating.
It'd be
Brett.
awesome.
It sounds very like Alien Covenant 2. We like creating like aliens.
I love it.
Blows your mind. All right,
I don't know about.
Well, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments section. We're gonna take a quick break right now and join us afterwards when we talk about like possibly the second meanest sheriff in America. Florida Sheriff Grady Judd, whose name sounds fictional. He sounds like the kind of sheriff who would say this ahead of a hurricane. Hurricane Irma is barreling into Florida, South Carolina, has already made its way through the Caribbean, and he tweeted this: "If you go to a shelter for Irma and you have a warrant, we'll gladly escort you to the safe and secure shelter called Polk County Jail." And then he continued later to say, if you have a warrant, turn yourself into the jail. It's a secure shelter. Ha ha ha. And then if you go to a shelter for Irma, be advised, sworn LEOs, I don't know what the L is for, but it's enforcement officers, I think, will be at every shelter checking IDs. Sex offenders / predators will not be allowed. This unfolded from 7:31 a.m. on the 7:30 on the 6th. To 8:15 a.m. on the 6th. So over the course of about an hour, he tweeted those 3 things. People are upset with him, saying essentially, basically this guy's encouraging anyone with a warrant, which are issued for things such as outstanding parking tickets, to risk death. That was Alt US Press Secretary. There's a handle called Alternative, Alt Sarah H. Sanders. But a lot of people are upset with this. What are your thoughts, 5 words or less?
Why are people assholes?
Are we sure it's not a joke?
Irma kicked this dude's ass.
I don't like this sheriff.
Me neither.
No.
I don't like it. Here's what, so his first thing, I think he keeps trying to make it sound like it was a joke.
Yeah, like each successive tweet was a little like he took a step back and was like, oh, maybe that was too much. Let me put it in a way that maybe is a little less bad, but it was still like, I don't know, it was bad.
Yeah.
You can't, in this climate of social media and how easily people are ready to go with their pitchforks and tiki torches at you, you can't say stuff like that. Like Irma is a real thing for people. That's like me. That's like back in Katrina making jokes about Katrina. You just can't do that. We talked about this. A lot of people that are being misplaced are looking for solace and shelter. So I would hope that there is a sense of community.
Yeah.
And with these tweets, clearly there's not. I mean, look, if I have a parking ticket, I shouldn't have to worry about, oh my gosh, am I gonna get thrown in jail? Even though, fine, a jail is a secure shelter, of course, because I mean, you're not gonna be out in the winds, but
then again, like, is it? Is it a secure building?
Yeah, like,
he's
what
saying
if it
secure.
floods?
Now it's really confusing. Would it be safe in the jail? You don't know. Or is he telling a joke?
Yeah, but you can't. The insensitivity I think, is what's really off-putting with these tweets. And I read the tweets. And then I read if there was a retraction, if there's some kind of accountability by the Polk County Sheriff. There was not as of late. Am I wrong?
I haven't seen anything. There have been no updates according to the stories that we have as of shooting. But there's 2 points that are really good. This is Kurt Eichenwald, who's a journalist. He tweeted, so at best you're impeding law enforcement by telling people with warrants to stay away. So that's one thing. Or at a human level, you're pushing them to die, which is to stay out there. The shelters are not for you. I get it, but like the most important thing that I saw is from David J. Roth. It's a tweet saying, of all the gross things that America has invented and mass produced, and he capitalizes this term, aspiring celebrity tough guy sheriffs have to be about the grossest. And that's it. It's this sheriff, and when I teased this on the live show, I said, and before we went to break, he's the second grossest sheriff in America. Sheriff Joe Arpaio is another one of those who took his inmates and made them wear like, in embarrassing outfits, put them out in hundreds of degree weather.
Yeah, I mean,
and people
torture.
died because he wants to be known as the tough guy sheriff.
Right.
Here's the thing, my entire family is in Florida right now. They're all evacuating. I've been talking to them all this week. And I actually do have an uncle who is in law enforcement in I can't remember the name of the county, but in Keystone, Florida. And the thing is why I was really confused about this, not sure how to take it, is because it actually is standard to check IDs at these shelters. My mom ran a shelter. We lived in Jacksonville, and we've been dealing with hurricanes our entire life in that area. And sex offenders are actually not allowed.
Yeah.
So again, it's like part of this is true. They are going to be checking IDs. Sex offenders are not going to be allowed. But then the whole part of sending it to jail. So I think that's where a lot of people were really, really confused. Do we take him seriously? Is this a joke? We're not sure. Half of it's true, but is the other half true too?
Yeah.
You know, it's very difficult.
We'll gladly escort you to the safe and secure shelter. That is like not the kind of frank disclosure of fact that I want from a sheriff.
Yeah.
That is guys, in 2017 probably wearing spurs and chaps, sauntering through saloon doors as he sees himself. There's a new sheriff in town kind of talk.
Yeah, and Darren, you made a good point that I feel like initially he was trying, I feel like there was a little bit of, I don't want to say shade, but vitriol in the tweets, and then he doubled down or doubled back, sorry, and was like, okay, because you should, right, sex offenders, you should check IDs. That's a standard practice, but I feel like the intent, because you always got to think about intent when posting a picture on social media, when sending a tweet. I think the intent was also kind of to be like a little evil, and so and then he snapped and thought, wait a minute.
So yeah, the second one does. If you have a warrant, turn yourself into the jail. It's a secure shelter.
Yeah.
It sounds like he was trying to be like, actually, no, I meant to be serious. That it is a secure shelter, but he's already gone too far.
Yeah.
And I just do not like that whatsoever.
It's such a dire situation in Florida right now. They've almost completely run out of gas. My sister, she lives in Orlando. She can't get out.
Yeah.
I mean, she has to go to a hotel and just hope that her house is fine and everything. It's a really bad situation. And so to just add stress level for people who have just parking tickets, because that could be a warrant as well. I mean, to add that level of stress when they can't get water, they can't get gas, the roads are all blocked and it's coming, I just think it's way too much.
Those are crazy. Everything I've seen, you use a Snapchat map to kind of look at where people are uploading from, even if you're not like stalking them. It's when you add to this local story. I went and looked at Walmarts in Florida.
It's crazy.
Empty shelves.
Wow. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
My father, my aunt, my 6 aunts, my father, and my father was a fireman, lost everything in Katrina. And I just remember the stories of how it became survival of the fittest. There was looting, water, no gas, no water. And then you have New Orleans was flooded like Houston. I mean, and you have these people that are being pushed to the limit to survive. So I don't think making a joke, sending tweets about Irma, it's bad taste. There's no decorum. It's just don't do it. Don't do it. I mean, we're so fortunate in LA that we haven't had a natural disaster like this. I mean, we have earthquakes, but we haven't had a major earthquake since '94.
Yeah, I remember.
So I mean, we have to be so sensitive now. We have to be fully aware of what we're doing on social media.
But I think also the sheriff should be the one who's out there telling people you can come to these shelters. He's the leader in the situation. And
I think in a time like that, especially, people are really trying to find somebody to, protect
beacon
them.
of hope.
Law enforcement.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Firefighters, people like that. So they're looking at him and wanting help, and all they're getting is, if you have a warrant, probably don't come here because
for parking violation. You know what I mean?
And there's a lot of things that the local companies, national companies, and the government are doing to help people that are really, heartening, such as they're suspending tolls on toll roads. They're just like, you don't have to slow down and pay the toll, just go. And then JetBlue is offering flights at a maximum of $99 to get out. They're capping it.
Yeah, that's so wonderful.
And that's an industry that dynamically prices airplane fees within an inch of their life. It'll be, if it's just try to go anywhere on Thanksgiving, that
and they've added hundreds of flights too. They're bringing flights right now because it's down in South Florida, but in Orlando, they're actually bringing more planes in to get as many people as they can out of that area because it's gonna be a Cat 4 still when it hits the middle of the state. It's insane.
Crazy, everybody stay safe out there and do whatever you can to make it through. So, all right, we're gonna move on to our next story. This one is not called Why We Need to Go on More Mandates. Again.
Love it.
It's like subliminal. We're gonna fucking do the story. So fine, let's just do that story. Let's just do it.
Why do you guys need to go on more mandates? Anyways, okay, here goes. This one's about Fashion Week. Leading fashion companies are banning a certain type of model from the upcoming fashion week. What kind of model? Well, according to reports, there will no longer be allowed to be models who are less than 16 years old and are under size 2. The companies that are doing this are LVMH and Kerning. They own such brands as Christian Dior, Gucci, Marc Jacobs, Balenciaga, and Saint Laurent.
Saint Laurent.
Saint Laurent.
Saint Laurent.
It's actually pronounced
Perfect.
Nailed it.
There's mixed reaction from people. A lot of folks saying this is good because it discourages women from getting unhealthily thin and allows there to be more realistic models. But there is kind of a mixed response from others saying that this is not the solution. What do you think? Thoughts, 5 words or less.
Why ban? Just be inclusive.
We can go a little further.
That's it. Donuts for everyone.
Fashion. I don't know. I didn't have anything.
It works,
it's
right?
hard being a guy talking about fashion.
Yeah. I was trying to think of like puns based on different brands, but I don't know. I couldn't think of any.
Yeah.
I was like polo. That's too polo. Their size is too polo.
You could have been no, she won't, she don't.
Oh, wow.
Boom!
That's so great. Okay, so a lot of folks
holding on to that one.
Just waiting to unleash that on us.
All right, so the response being, it seems like they didn't want to encourage unhealthily skinny models.
Right.
And so is this the right way to do it?
Honestly, I think no. So they've banned a size 0 model. How many people do you know that's a size 0? Not many. There's not many. I think it's great that they banned girls under 16. I think a lot of times they put them in kind of like a sexually explicit outfit that I think is pretty inappropriate. But they're not really being inclusive because they're banning a size 0, but then they also don't cast models that are above a size 2. So it doesn't really make sense to me at all in any way.
I think it's time that we just get out of this phase of models have to be skinny, because at the end of the day, models are there to sell us a product, and how many people who are buying this product, women mostly, actually look like these girls.
Right.
And I just think I go to sites now, I tend to go to sites that have women that look like me, because then I know what I'm buying. At the end of the day, it's a business, and I just think if you can walk confidently on a runway, no matter what size you are, then you deserve to be there.
Totally.
And I think that's the stand that they needed to take.
Well, men are also being included in this ban as well. Men that wear, you can't hire a man that's 34. If you're under a size 34, you can't work. Well, that's really weird because I'm a size 32.
Yeah.
And they're saying, well, okay, a lot of this is
I'm a size 34.
So a lot of this is, but that's how you naturally are a size 34. They're saying that these people that are underweight have some kind of psychological health disorder. And there's also, I want to read you guys something that was very eye-opening in regards to this, because this is all based on the Charter of Working Relations with fashion models and their well-beings. Now, as you said, the Kering Group owns Gucci, YSL, Balenciaga, and LVMH is Dior, Givenchy, and Marc Jacobs. And basically what they're saying is that the people that are under these sizes are more susceptible to be suffering from an eating disorder or a self-esteem problem, which is not the case. I intermittent fast. And I do that because I like the health benefits. And I think it works out for my lifestyle. So me being a size 32 doesn't necessarily equate that I have some kind of problem. And also in 2015, they came out with the skinny model policy, which is it requires new models to provide a doctor's note that they are in good health and have a BMI of 18 or over. Now they're fining these designers 75,000 euros or almost 90,000 American dollars if they are in a violation of this. So I think that a lot of women, some women are just naturally thin, and some men are just naturally lean. For to say that they have an eating disorder or problem is erroneous by all accounts.
So that's right, I totally agree with it. By doing the size, you are not addressing the issue you're saying you're addressing. You're not addressing the priority you seem to be placing on positive mental health, positive body image. It's gonna be tough to find someone in the modeling industry who isn't concerned with body image, because that's what it is. That's why you're there, is to demonstrate these clothes as an image on a body. It's gonna be really difficult. But a lot of people in sports and a lot of different, a lot of different industries, they do have this drive in them to attain a certain goal. And if it's a goal weight, as long as it's healthy, though it can cause you some like frustration along the way, as long as a doctor signs off, that one sounds way more in line with it.
Well, and you're right, Brett. And like Darren, you're a model, so and I'm sure you know your history. Back in the 90s, you had the heroin chic and the waif and the Kate Moss and the Calvin. I remember being in high school in '96, CKB came out. And they had Kate Moss, who was really skinny, and that was like, oh, she's this heroin chic model, she's super skinny. And so you have the modeling industry has this pendulum that swings both ways. And now, and it's so extreme, so now they're saying, fine, you guys want us to be all about health and stuff, so we're gonna send a message by kicking out these people because we're listening to what you guys have to say, but they don't really think about it and really think about like, okay, why are we doing this? You're gonna be hard pressed to find a guy. I tried to model. I was told I couldn't model because I was 6'2". Male models are 6 foot, 5'11", around there, right? Okay. You're gonna be hard pressed to find a lot of people that are within those sizes. And also, what is the message you're sending to a lot of these teens that are a size 0? You know, that are naturally, that's just who they are. Now am I ugly? Now am I not worth it because I'm a size 0?
When I was in college, I weighed 135 at 6 feet tall, and I ate like crazy.
Sure.
And if your ban is at people at 16, I don't know if you saw the movie 17 again, but I did and I loved it. And there's this great moment where, Matthew Perry has turned into Zac Efron and he's 17 and he has a whole like kitchen island full of stuff and he's just swallowing whipped cream and he's like, I'm hungry all the time. And that's it, but he still looks like Zac Efron.
Here's the thing too, this only applies to the fashion week and runways. We're not even talking about what most young girls see as magazines and television shows.
Instagram.
And exactly, Instagram and all these kinds of things. I mean, they did the tiniest little amount to say, hey, we're listening, but they're really not listening. And it's, I mean, like I said, I am so tired of watching the Victoria's Secret fashion show seeing this, well, obviously you're not, but I'm just tired of seeing these girls and I'm like, I just feel bad every time that I watch that kind of stuff because I'm like, I don't look like that. That bathing suit's not gonna look like that on me.
Where can I get those $1 million wings?
Exactly. I'm not that tall.
Makes me feel bad.
Not all of them. We like Demi. I like Demi. She looks so good.
She does. I would love to have, because this is, I mean, I find it hard to believe that models are going to speak out against this because the modeling game is so cutthroat, and it's like models like Kendall and Gigi and Carly. They want to stay employed, you know, and I'm sure they support they think that women of all sizes and men of all sizes should work, but I would love for models to speak out against this because I think this is just such a disservice. And also, why do we give models so much power? Why are they celebrities? They do not. If you really think about a model, they really don't do anything that enhances my life. I don't see Kendall Jenner and think, oh my God, I'm so changed because Kendall is for Estee Lauder. You know, that really doesn't like drive home anything that's of any significance to my life. So why do we place so much clout and fascination on models?
One thing I like right now is Project Runway, which I hadn't watched for a long time, but Maddie was a judge, so that was Maddie Ziegler from Dance Moms. So I was like, oh, my fiance was like, let's watch that. I put a whole season recording, I'm back, and their models are all different shapes and sizes.
I love it.
I think this is the first year where they use all different types of models, which I think is amazing. And I think that, you know, New York Fashion Week, London Fashion Week, Paris, whatever, they all need to be using all these models with different sizes, shapes, colors, heights, weights, like
because that's what's real. And if these businesses were truly present and wanting to be successful and profit, then you would know that, hey, let's find a way to make our products available for everyone, but that's just not the case. And I'm glad they included men in this as well, because when you think about models, you think about just females, and men are just as discriminated against in that industry and in entertainment as women are. And people say, oh, women, the gaps, and that's true. But when it comes to fashion, it's all how you look, and men get a lot of shit too.
A lot of eating disorders among male.
There's
models.
a video on YouTube, and I wish I could include the link about a guy talks about why he quit being a male model, and he said the eating disorders, the sexual abuse, the sexual assault.
Oh shit!
Yeah, he went and he says I probably will never work again, but you guys need to know what's going on.
Right. So the takeaway from this is it something like fashion industry. Good for you. You are doing something. Now that you've taken that step, let's evaluate it and say, okay, we think that the mental health aspect of it and the in the models themselves and the pressure that the models end up putting on people all out there, let's take another step and focus on that, as opposed to just because size ain't nothing but a number.
That's the Brett. You hit the nail on the head. That's the
I just was saying what you guys all said together.
Thanks,
so thank you for hitting it on the head, and thanks for last points. All right, we're gonna take a little break and we're gonna come back and talk about Title IX, sexual assault on campus. What should they do when enforcing it? And then also a really interesting wedding at a gymnasium. Don't go away. The University of Southern California expelled a student athlete due to charges of sexual assault, even though now the victim, allegedly, of that sexual assault says it never happened. So this is the story of Matthew Bormeister, the 23-year-old kicker on the USC football team, USC, which now is like number 4 in the nation. He won the Rose Bowl for the Trojans last year by kicking a last-second field goal, even though that team shouldn't have been in the Rose Bowl. And he is still dating Zoe Katz, who's 22, and she's one of the captains of the tennis team there. Previously, they had been caught by law enforcement after there were allegations that he had assaulted her. And witnesses said that they saw him with his hand around her throat and she was gagging. But since then, she has said, I made it very clear to USC that I have never been abused, assaulted, or otherwise mistreated by Matthew Bormeister, not on January 21st, 2017, and not ever. SC has still expelled him, and they have started to release more documents that seem to indicate that she now is misrepresenting the truth for whatever reason, but they say that they're gonna keep going forward with their discipline at this point. They said they have released things saying that she sent a text message to one of her friends, to someone saying, he can't know that I made a statement. And other things like this. But where do you draw the line? This is all circling around something called Title IX. Title IX's been around for a while, and it was bolstered by the Obama administration, putting in more focus on making sure that you immediately address any accusations of sexual misconduct. But fundamental underpinnings of Title IX are equality between the genders on college campuses. And so she also has said, I understand that domestic violence is a terrible problem, but it in no way applies to Matt and me. I don't know what to do in this situation. What do you guys think?
I mean, where do we
rough.
I mean, she also said, I'm ashamed because I haven't left, but I'm afraid to leave.
Right.
This was back when it was all unfolding. She says, I haven't left, but I am afraid if I do leave, it will be much worse.
Right, yeah, and in that article, there were like so many things that were happening at the beginning when it happened. Like they had people who actually witnessed him with his hands around her neck. She was screaming. I mean, those people have no motive to lie about it.
Right.
Apparently, he may be a draft prospect in the NFL, which could be a motive for her to be like, he didn't do this. Like, maybe she
stick
is
around
afraid.
to get half that money.
Yeah,
right?
and like, she's in that article also. It said that some of her friends actually saw some bruising and maybe some redness around her neck. So it seems like
they heard
all
screams,
signs,
they heard things.
Yeah, and they said
and
later.
Witnesses.
And then the story later was that, I think I have it here. The noises in the alley that night in January were, quote, loud consensual horseplay, is what they say. A neighbor asked if Katz was all right, and Katz responded that she was fine.
Here's the thing.
What's the thing, Heather?
I'm gonna tell you the thing, Jason. It seems to me, and I think we've all come to the conclusion that it did happen, and she's trying to cover it up, and that is what we all think, and that is what the general consensus thinks here. The problem is that we, as the general consensus, we're not law, you know what I mean? Like, even though it seems so clear to us right now that she was covering it up, it happened, it seems very clear. But at the end of the day, can we really ruin his life because of it if she's not willing or feels like she can't come forward? And I mean, for me, I'm just like, yeah, like kick him out. I'm siding with her because I'm a woman and I feel for her, and I can feel like I could be in that same situation too. But at the end of the day, that's not what the law is. We as the people don't get to decide. So I don't know, I'm so conflicted.
It is, it's very conflicting, but I think USC's standpoint is, we're going to investigate this even more because any kind of allegations of sexual assault or sexual abuse are egregious and heinous. 1. 2, what happens if something comes out that this actually did happen? USC didn't take the proper precautions, the proper steps too. So then now USC as a private institution that's like loved and reveled in Southern California and across the nation will have a huge scandal on their hands. They don't want to have to deal with that. You have endowments, you have all these things that come into play when it comes to universities that they have to protect their ass too.
Also, this is a university that is just fresh off of massive sanctions levied against them for things like Reggie Bush getting a car. And then you have other schools under intense scrutiny, such as Penn State, for letting the sexual assault of minors happen for years on their watch with nobody saying anything. And then certain evidence coming up that seemed to imply that folks knew about it and still didn't say anything about it. I get it. What do you say about the idea that potentially she's staying with him because she might have some kind of Stockholm syndrome, or it is an unhealthy relationship?
Codependency, you see it all the time. You see, it's battered woman syndrome, yes? You see it all the time. I mean, I've had friends who have stayed in, I wouldn't say potentially abusive relationships, flat out, dragged out fights all the time, and they acclimate their mentality to be, well, that's just how we love. That's just how we it's like
they normalize it.
Big Little Lies.
Big Little Lies,
how they had such a tumultuous, violent relationship, but they stayed together for whatever reason. That's why. So we will never ever know. This is all speculation, of course. We will never ever know what or the items or the elements of their relationship. But you have to read between the lines. Things did happen. Things went down. And I'm not mad at USC for investigating it.
I think they did the right thing. I really do. Absolutely. And they're covering themselves and they are taking steps. And even, I mean, the witnesses say one thing. They are not law enforcement either. If they don't want to take it criminally, if she doesn't want to take it any further than that, then that's fine. But I think USC did the right thing.
Legally, there's a bunch of different kinds of law. There's criminal, there's civil. You can be found not guilty of a criminal case, but still be held accountable for monetary damages. And then on the other hand, you have organizations like athletic organizations. Right now, Ezekiel Elliott is a running back for the Dallas Cowboys, and he has been suspended for 6 games, but he hasn't been found guilty of anything. So what the NFL is doing is upholding his suspension, but not enforcing it on the first week, because I think they're trying to buy themselves some time to find if there's some kind of closure. But if they're going to err on one side as USC, I think on the side of being against domestic violence. I figured out there's one more aspect to this, and that is Title IX, which I mentioned earlier, which is the initiative essentially that's centered around equal opportunity and protection for all. And now Betsy DeVos, who's the head of the education, the Secretary of Education, and has not said anything about DACA since it came out, even though she's in charge of education and it applies to kids of undocumented immigrants who are going to school as part of DACA. She has not said anything about that, but it seems like she is going to review DACA or Title IX and quote respond and pull back some of its regulations. So that's something to look at. We got to move on to our final story of the day, and it is this. Where do you want to get married? It's a question that affects a lot of us who want to make the mistake of getting married to someone. The answer for some couple in Cincinnati was to get married at Planet Fitness, which technically is a destination wedding because it's on a different planet. Joseph Keith III and Stephanie Hughes got married here. Let's take some photos. In Planet Fitness. Why they did it? I think it's because they work out. Who cares? Here's the first photo of them walking down the aisle of ellipticals.
Like, oh, it's cute.
And here's the next photo. It's your planet. I get that. And okay, we'll talk about it. And then the third, there's their photo all together. Did they work there? They
met there.
They met there. All right, yeah.
Their love unfurled.
All right, thoughts, 5 words or less.
Planet Fitness, the new Tinder.
To each their own.
Chuck E. Cheese wedding. I'm in.
That gym smell, though.
Oh,
Brad, totally. I was thinking the same thing.
I was like, is it smelling like feet and sweaty balls when she's walking down the aisle?
That's an
or not?
Darren. The sweaty ball scent, that's an aphrodisiac for some people.
Maybe they should have upgraded.
They're all about that man musk.
If fitness was really important to them, maybe they should have upgraded to like an Equinox or something. Like that would have been a much better experience. I am gym shaming.
Oh my God. Wait.
Equinox is a whole other experience.
No, legit it is. Yo. You walk into an Equinox and you're like showered in eucalyptus rain, and they carry you over to the elliptical.
I'm acting like I know.
They start the elliptical for you. Here, let me give you a push.
Yeah.
I love Planet Fitness. I had a membership there when I lived in East Hollywood. I had no complaints about it. I mean, all gyms are gonna smell like sweaty balls, except Equinox. Maybe I've never been there.
Me either.
No one sweats at Equinox. They're too wealthy.
I mean, if you want to get married at Planet Fitness, get married at Planet Fitness. Who am I to say that's wrong? I mean, would I choose it? Probably not, because I don't like the smell of sweat and feet. But you know what? It looked like they had a good time.
Yeah, and like that's where, and listen, that was their first day of forever. That's where they met. So she was doing some kind of push-up or some kind of floor plyometrics. He came over and was like, "Yo, do you even lift, girl?" And she was like, "Yeah, I lift."
Not happened like that, guaranteed.
And then it was like the eye, you know, hearts in the eyes. But I mean, listen. First of all, destination weddings are rude, especially when they're like in another continent.
Yes.
Secondly, don't do it.
I love it because then you invite people and
they
you
don't
know,
show
and
up.
you know that the people that you kind of didn't want to invite aren't going to go.
But you know that you're.
But then they might show up.
That's the thing.
They're like, "Hey, girl, I have a ticket. I'm here."
But you know that your friends secretly hate you because you're like, I got to spend my entire vacation and my entire life savings to go to Hawaii for you. We were just roommates in college, okay?
But I think it's cute though. I think that that's just where they fell in love, and and obviously fitness is a very important thing in their life. So they're sharing their love together through fitness, and we can't be mad at that. I mean, it is a little weird. I don't think I don't believe in marriage, and I mean that's a whole Pop Trigger episode. but if that's where they found love in a fitness place,
aren't you married?
Then we're.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute.
I'm distracted.
Yeah, no, we're domestic partners.
Got it.
So I mean, but the whole like walking down the aisle, right? I love Munchkin. You guys know how much I love my Munchkin. But for insurance purposes, and so he could be protected in California, we were domestic partners. But you know, like more power to them. Hey, Liz, the wedding looked very colorful.
Yeah.
My favorite thing was that they had like one of the gym workers who they had known be like the officiant or whatever. I thought that was so funny.
I was disappointed she didn't have a purple dress.
I know.
If you're gonna do it, you might as well do it.
Like a Planet Fitness t-shirt.
Wait, are you all married? Is everyone married?
No.
I'm married, yes.
You're married.
And I will say though, my husband and I met in Los Angeles and then we moved back to Florida so I could finish school. But when it came time to get married, we wanted to come back to Los Angeles where we met.
Yeah.
Although Los Angeles is a place, not a, gym. But we didn't get married in Los Angeles, but we did fly back to have our engagement pictures done at the Santa Monica Pier where he took me one night. So those kinds of things in relationships are sentimental.
Oh no, I'm getting married on Monday.
You
Wait,
are?
what?
Yeah. Pop Trigger exclusive.
What?
Yeah.
Pop Trigger exclusive.
Wait, hold on.
Married Monday.
For real?
Sorry, ladies.
Congratulations.
On a Monday?
On Monday, September 11th. Take it back. Never forget your anniversary. And
Oh my God,
Are you serious right now? I'm
absolutely
not sure.
serious.
Dude.
So here's what happened.
Brett is a savage. I love
We
this dude.
tried to plan a wedding, and I don't have any feelings about it. So you ever someone asks you a question, what do you want for dinner tonight? Sometimes you're like, In-N-Out, done. We're going to In-N-Out. I never had that feeling about decisions surrounding my wedding. She was like, you want to go to Hawaii? And the answer was no, her mom doesn't like to fly over water. So, okay, that's good. Finally, that's a reason to do it that way.
Yeah.
But like, do you want to have it in LA? Probably. But then I went through so many questions and answers of like, sure, that sounds fine. Without a response, that the September 11th thing, at least I had a reaction to it.
Right.
And then we were like kind of half planning it. And her sister, who doesn't really plan very well, called up and she's a sweetheart. She's like, so are you guys I got work off on Monday. Can I come?
So what are you doing then?
So we booked a suite at a Vegas hotel. We're gonna have everybody over. And once she called 2 or 3 days ago, I was like, yes, let's do it. And so I booked I was originally gonna stay at the Aria, which has this thing called the Executive Hospitality Suite, which is like a big room that has a bed in it,
but also has like a conference room. And so what we're gonna do is, my mom's coming down this weekend, and then we're gonna fly to Vegas, and we're going to all get together before the wedding in this suite that we got at a different hotel. It has a fridge in it, so that's where we're gonna put the cake. That's why we switched from the executive suite.
Important.
We're going to meet up there, and I'm not gonna do the thing where it's like, you don't look at me, I don't look at you until we see each other at the wedding. So I'm gonna wear a blue Banana Republic suit that I own.
Ooh. That's cute.
I look really like I'm wearing a suit in it. And she's gonna wear whatever dress she just got that's getting altered right now. And we're gonna get married at this chapel, I think, if it's still available, that has,
I love this.
It's called something like the glass ceiling, and it's got this, it looks like a skylight, but just at the top, it's got like a drawing of the sky, and then LED lights down the bottom of it that make it look like sunrise or sunset or daytime.
I love this.
And it's like 80 people it seats, and we're gonna have like 7. And we're gonna go do that. My mom, her stepdad, her sister. I think my brother can make it, but the best thing is this fee that you pay them, you get a URL you can send to your friends and they stream it.
Oh my God.
So they can be there. And then we're gonna
so good.
And then we're gonna go back. I think the night before I'm sending all the ladies and not her sister, because her sister's into ladies. They're gonna go to Magic Mike. That's gonna be good.
Yes.
And then Jackie and I and maybe my brother, we're gonna go maybe to
when did you
Sexy
come up with
Lady
this
show.
plan?
Friday?
I love this. I
Saturday?
do.
Something like that.
You know what? If you're happy, and the important thing though about any wedding, as everyone should know, is if the bride is happy. Is she happy with this?
Yes.
Okay, then that's all it needs.
I hate logistics. And I hate, which is weird because I produce things. It's really, and it's that fear that I'm like, just do it, so I don't have to plan it again. And then I also hate asking people to come to stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. And so my mom said something like, all the people that you want to be there should be there. And I was like, I don't want to ask people to have to be there. And then we're gonna do this in Vegas with just like the parents who would shoot us in the face if they found out that we got married without them.
Right.
And then later we're gonna have a party in Los Angeles with a taco truck.
I love that. I love that.
For a good
Brett Ehrlich, everyone. I mean, think about it. Just so good. Yo.
Slow clap.
Yeah, slow clap. Because like, dude, you're so like, I don't know what to say, and I'm never at a loss of words. I really don't know what to say, Brett.
I think you're genius though, because I planned a wedding. It wasn't very big, but my husband and I got married, and it was a whole to-do. And I said afterwards, even though I loved my wedding, I would never do it again.
Yep.
Never.
And this is just my first wedding, so if I don't like this one, next time, as they said in Jurassic Park, next time it'll be flawless. So I don't know.
Awesome.
That's that.
Wait, and the rings and all that?
Oh, her ring is fucking awesome.
Bomb?
Her ring's awesome. I bought it from a girl I used to date.
Wait, are you being serious?
Yeah, she runs
oh gosh.
14 carats or what? It's like where Rihanna gets all her shit and Beyonce gets all her shit. When I was there, like Rihanna's person came to pick up a thing. It's like, it's in Beverly Hills, but I just know the girl who runs it. So she gave me a deal on the best ring because it's shallow, but the table is wide. So it looked big, but it's reasonable. Wasn't reasonable.
What
None of it's
every woman
reasonable
wants to hear.
at all, but it is, I don't know, it's a big ring.
It sounds
and it's
awesome.
literally colorless. It's really good. People are jealous.
Hey, she's gonna have that longer than the wedding, so.
Yeah, and that's what
There
I
you go.
said.
There you go.
I was like,
It's
in
true.
LA.
It's so
She's gonna have that ring longer than the marriage too, buddy.
But my ring right now is a rubber. Because I don't like. I heard Jimmy Fallon almost lost his finger because his metal ring got caught on a table when he fell.
Also, the people who got married at Planet Fitness, their rings were little weights. Like they said, please present the weight to
That's
the.
not true. That's not true.
Bad joke, bad Brett.
I believed it.
Congratulations, Brett. I wish you all the
that's
best.
That's amazing.
We'll see.
Brett
I'm
Ehrlich,
nervous.
That's awesome. You should
Definitely
be, but nerves are
nervous.
good.
Yeah.
Nerves are good.
If you're not nervous, you're probably not doing it the right way.
Yeah, and another reason for us to do it is my friend lost his mom, and we're going full Scorsese with the wedding. It's going to be like we're going to have a funeral on Friday, and then we're going to turn around and do more of like rebirth type stuff on Monday.
Every time you add details, it gets
better
so
and
much
better.
more
Yeah.
right?
Why we should have a camera filming
Seriously.
TYT reality.
I'll send you the URL. Can we get the URL?
Undercover, Brett Ehrlich's wedding.
We'll have video evidence. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. What a great experience this has been. Life, death, rebirth. And thank you guys. Oh, great. We got Darren, Heather, Jason. And we'll see you next time on Pop Trigger.
All right, welcome to the Young Turks. We've got a great show. There's more NFL, there's more Puerto Rico, there's more everything in the world. I'm going to start with fun in a second. And then one of the things we're going to do today is, first of all, tell you about one of the greatest weddings in American history. What? What does that have to do with the show? You'll see. And can that really live up to its billing? Certainly one of the most patriotic. Okay, and then also a little bit later in the program, what else do I have for? Oh my God, a Republican says the most devastating things about Trump. I was actually shocked at what he said. So that's coming up in a little bit. But I told you guys that we won the Streamy for Best News Show on Sunday night. Well, we're up for Show of the Year, Best Show on the Internet tonight. But you can still keep voting today. So you do that through hashtag TYT for Streamies. Just tweet that. Tweet anything else you like with it. Tweet nothing else if you want. Retweet it, that also counts. The last day of voting, it's panic time. Go for it. And then tonight, watch ceremony, see if we win. Also, Anna and I will be presenting the Storyteller of the Year. Really great category that includes DJ Khaled. Okay, I don't know how to say it. How do I say it? Anyway, I better figure it out before the ceremony. Twitter.com/streamies. Brett Ehrlich is going to teach me before the ceremony. All right, let's get started. Let's go to Sean Hannity, okay? This is one of those stories that's just nothing but fun, okay? It's about Sean Hannity. He apparently got jealous of Lawrence O'Donnell's outtakes. So someone leaked that he's got his own. This is what happens during the show when they're going to a video clip. And then this is what he does while the audience is watching the video. Harry Shearer got his hands on this. He apparently has a source inside of Fox News. This is fun. Now, first of all, this story was going to be nothing but fun. I actually didn't have anything to say about it until Hannity responded, so I got to now respond to his response. But first, let's watch him bait.
Watch this.
All right, there he goes. Okay, looks like the penguin there a little bit. Okay, depends on your take on it. You know, if you're a smoker, you might find it not so bad. There he is with that stern look, doing the Marco Rubio, no problem. Little scratch there, maybe work with the earpiece. And game face, go. Okay, really no big deal. Okay, so he apparently vapes. What's in there? Yeah, America wants to know. Okay, we might not find out. Presumably tobacco. So Hannity then tweets out in response to this, LOL, which is appropriate. It's not real. Enjoy has advertised on my radio show. I don't smoke cigars anymore. Well, I don't think anybody thought that it was a cigarette. It looked like he was vaping the whole time, and hence the graphic. But okay, that's fine. So far, still no story. It doesn't even look that bad. It's kind of funny, but it's not that, no big deal at all. Then he says this, nah, had to give them up, even during golf and fishing. Ugh, and I drink beer and occasionally vodka. I know liberals never do either. Okay, yeah, of course, liberals also drink beer and vodka and do many other things. But the difference between you and us, Sean, is that we don't judge you for it. So that's why I don't care that you're vaping. I don't even care if there's weed in there. Okay, I don't want to get into the weeds on the story, but anyways, we actually want to leave you alone. We're not in favor of big government like you are. We think you should have personal liberty. And if you want to smoke or smoke cigars or vape, have at it, Hoss. We're not going to judge you on that. But you guys are the ones who are constantly like, don't do that, and don't do this, and So in this case, no one knows what was in it. So overall though, Sean, am I not merciful? Not guilty. And if you were guilty, I'd pardon you. Most reasonable man in America. Okay, we're moving forward. Just a quick little fun story. Okay, hashtag TYT for extremists. Did I mention that? All right. Now let's go to healthcare. Wait, I have news on this, so I should do this. Okay. We have news. All right. Repeal and replace dead again. I know it's a zombie bill and it keeps coming back up, but they had until September 30th to somehow figure out how to get 50 Republicans to vote for it so they don't need Democrats. Well, it looks like it is not going to happen. Mitch McConnell came out and said, yep, we just couldn't do it. Couldn't get enough Republicans to vote for it. The Congressional Budget Office, which is nonpartisan, had come out and said, yes, it will still cost untold millions of Americans healthcare coverage, and yes, it'll be more expensive, and yes, it'll cover less. Pretty much disastrous news, which cost some Susan Collins, as you'll see in a second. And so let me give you the details on how this one is dead. The decision to shelve repeal legislation came during a weekly caucus meeting on Capitol Hill as leaders acknowledged that the latest proposal from Senators Bill Cassidy and Lindsey Graham lacked the support it required to pass. That's usually how bills die. So they did not bring it up for a vote because all that would do is cause further embarrassment since they don't have enough votes. And McCain might come back out there and go, which was super fun, or this. Okay, so the reason Senator Bill Cassidy, who was the author of this particular legislation, had to say this is because Donald Trump sometimes doesn't know how things work. So he said, quote, we don't have the votes, which is the most obvious thing in the world. But Trump, after one of the first efforts to get rid of Obamacare had failed, was like, I don't understand what happened. Why didn't it pass? And then he was like fuming about the filibuster. The filibuster has nothing to do with this. Filibuster is 60 votes. This would have actually been a loophole around the filibuster. You just need 50 votes, which is not even a majority. Pence would break the tie and then you'd get it to pass, but you couldn't get a majority. You couldn't get 50 votes. So Trump says that he's very disappointed by a couple of senators, Republican senators. You know, he loves to hit his own side. Again, strategically, that might make sense in some cases. It hasn't in this case. If somehow he was playing three-dimensional chess, I'd love to see Trump just play chess. What are these things? What do you call this castle? Why does it only move that way? Anyway, if he had been playing three-dimensional chess, well, checkmate, I guess. He had no strategy. So let me give you more on Trump bashing other Republicans, which is always fun. He said, we were very disappointed that they would take the attitude that they did. We don't know why they did it. You can sort of figure that, but we'll see what happens. At some point, there'll be a repeal and replace, but we'll see whether or not that point is now, or will it be shortly thereafter. We are disappointed in certain so-called Republicans. Ooh, shots fired. Okay, now he apparently can't figure out why they voted this way. Actually, it's very, very clear. Susan Collins explained that, well, the Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, came out with the numbers saying all these people would lose their health care coverage. Furthermore, now I go to the Hill, she cited the CBO's score as one of her reasons for opposing the legislation authored by GOP Senators Lindsey Graham and Bill Cassidy, while also criticizing its cuts to Medicaid, its weakening of protections for people with pre-existing conditions, and predictions by insurers, hospitals, and other groups that it would lead to higher premiums and less coverage for people. Well, that's apparently why they did it. That's why they didn't vote yes. That seems like ample reason, but Trump's still trying to figure it out. He's like, nobody can tell. Nobody knows. Healthcare is complicated. Nobody knew that. And so I don't know why they voted no. They voted no because it's a terrible bill, because it makes it more expensive, covers less, and more people lose their insurance, and the list goes on and on. But you think they're gone? They're never gone. So Lindsey Graham says, quote, we're coming back to this after taxes. What he means by that is they are going to try to pass a multi-trillion-dollar tax cut for the rich. That is their number one priority, has always been. This healthcare bill, the real reason for it was that it had about a $600 to $700 billion tax cut for the rich, but that was an appetizer. Now they're going to try to pass a $6 to $7 trillion tax cut for the rich. So now they're saying, well, maybe getting rid of Obamacare costing you guys insurance, but giving another $700 billion to our rich donors, that'll be the dessert rather than the appetizer. Wow, I really look forward to that. But one more thing, if Trump is still flummoxed as to why politicians didn't vote for this horrible bill that he loved and supported, if you look at the polling, CBS News had it at 20% approval. Well, that's pretty crappy. 20% is a miserable number. That might be another reason why people looking forward to getting reelected didn't vote for it. By the way, Obamacare now polling at 54%. The more Trump and the Republicans attack Obamacare, the more people like it. They're like, whoa, look, the premiums are a little too high, but at least people are covered. And if you have a pre-existing condition, they're not gonna let you die anymore. Now that we've seen the Republican alternative, Obamacare looks way better. So Donald, if you're still wondering and have no clue, which is usually the case for you, as to why this didn't work and how it might work in the future, call me. I can let you know. By the way, one thing that does cover everyone, has lower premiums and covers more healthcare as well, gives you more options, is a thing called Medicare. And luckily, Medicare for all, Medicare is so popular. It polls at 77% for the people who, for the whole country. People who have it generally like it. If you want more private insurance on top, you can get Medicare Advantage. So Medicare for all, saying let us all into that popular program, is polling at 60%. The only thing higher than Obamacare, because it checks off everything that Donald Trump promised during the campaign. Of course, those were lies on his behalf. It checks off every single box that Americans actually want in healthcare. Is this system perfect? No system's perfect. But overall, the reason why it's incredibly popular is because it works. Let's try that next. It's not that complicated. All right, but good news today, great news today. In fact, let me do, it's dead for now, so. It's dead, so it might mean that you stay alive. It is health insurance, that's how it works. Okay, so. Now, I'm moving forward to the NFL. I got more on the NFL in the next segment for you guys too, but this is a great story. I love doing a little bit of edification here on things you might not have known. I didn't know a lot of this. Okay, so Donald Trump, of course, continues to double down, triple down. I think we're on quintuple down, actually. I think he went back at it for the 5th time today on saying that the NFL must make its players kneel, or not kneel, or they should be fired. Now this is the government basically saying if they're going to exercise their freedom of speech, where there should be consequences and punishment for it. That's at a minimum borderline unconstitutional. It's different if the owners do it, they're private entities, but when the government is demanding that people be fired, it becomes a massive constitutional issue, let alone the fact that these guys just, like, their cause is not that controversial. They want to end police brutality. Are there people for police brutality? Like, you might disagree about the severity of the issue, but like you're really that upset, like, oh God, I really want police brutality to keep going. If only they could shoot more unarmed men, and particularly black men. Again, you could disagree with it, but it's not an outrageous thing. They're not saying, hey, let's end all cops, whatever. It's just the most simple thing in the world. Can we look at disproportionate police violence that happens from time to time and look to fix it so the police can serve our entire community? Okay, but there's a terrific article by Travis Waldron from HuffPost on whether the NFL is political at all. Because a lot of the guys right now on the right wing are saying, including Trump, like, get politics out of football. Why are these players bringing politics into it? Come on, man, I just want to watch football here. NFL doesn't have anything to do with politics. Really? So let's go to Travis's really great article on this. He says, there is no such thing as a politically agnostic NFL. and the NFL we know today would not exist if there were. What's different today is who inside the NFL is engaging in politics, how they are doing so, and what they are demanding. Well, that's an interesting thesis. What does he mean by that? How was the NFL political before? Well, he explains. In 1957, a full decade before the first Super Bowl, the NFL was still a fledgling enterprise trying to muscle its way to the front of the nation's sporting consciousness when the US Supreme Court ruled that its methods of negotiating television broadcast rights violated antitrust laws. The NFL, in response, turned to Congress, a practice it would hone in years to come, and the league prevailed upon lawmakers to pass the Sports Broadcasting Act of 1961, a law that effectively invalidated the court's ruling by giving the NFL a limited exemption from antitrust laws. So the NFL was literally, in a lot of ways, especially on TV, born of politics. If they hadn't gone to Congress and lobbied it and gotten politicians on their side, they wouldn't have had the broadcasting rights that they have. In fact, it is in essence a quote government-sanctioned monopoly. So a lot of the sports leagues are, and they to varying degrees with slight variances, and you could make an argument that they need to be given their unique structure. But you certainly need politics to allow a monopoly like that to exist. So, but there's more. Travis explains, fantasy football, an unmistakable driver of the NFL's unrivaled popularity, is legal today primarily because the league successfully lobbied Congress to exempt the contest from federal laws that banned online gambling. Politics number 2, at a minimum. More, the NFL over the last 20 years has also benefited from nearly $7 billion in tax subsidies that have helped its teams build stadiums that enrich its already wealthy owners. So politics number 3, that's a giant one. So isn't that funny? When it's politics that helps billionaire owners, hey, there, go get him, NFL, way to do that politics. When it's largely African-American players, now it has spread to white players, which is great, by the way. I love that they're standing in unison and asking for reform and just supporting one another. But when it spreads to, and it started with only African-American players, hey, whoa, players. Politics is only for the owners, okay. But there's more. Today, as Waldron explains, the league has its own political action committee and has poached political communication gurus and strategists away from high-ranking political positions. If you got a PAC, you might be a little political. It is literally called the Political Action Committee. Okay, the NFL too, he continues, has allegedly used this considerable power to steer money away from certain federal government-sponsored studies into head trauma and chronic traumatic, and I'm not good at that, CTE, the degenerative brain disease that has been found in dozens of deceased football players. So now that one is alleged, but that would be number 4 of political things the NFL does and that no one complains about, or not a lot of people complain about. Certainly the right wing doesn't. Okay, now getting to the point here that he says, today's most compelling political voice in football are not wealthy white owners in bad suits urging Congress and state lawmakers to pass laws that further fill their pockets. They are black men in football uniforms who are demanding right there in front of God and Jerry Jones and everyone that football fans and Americans confront racial injustices that persist outside their sport but still affect them too. Let me just have my first couple of disagreements with him. I think their suits are way better than mine. They do have nice suits from time to time. And second of all, last night, even Jerry Jones, one of the most renowned, enormously wealthy owners in the NFL, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, took a knee with the rest of his players. I mean, if Donald Trump meant to unite people against, by the writer here, to point out that no, the NFL has always been about politics. The question is who. And yes, last year as Kaepernick and some of the other players started this, they were alone, and Kaepernick is still not in the league, so that action has not been taken. And that's ridiculous. Everybody in football knows he's one of the top 96 quarterbacks. It's preposterous to claim otherwise. So he should be in the league and that should be resolved immediately. But, and the folks who are enraged that players actually had the temerity to ask for political justice on a really important issue are dead wrong. But overall, the tide, partly thanks to the miserable failings of Donald Trump has begun to swing, where people are saying, well, yeah, that's true. That's true. It is freedom of speech. And why can't they actually make their point about police violence or whatever else they think is important? So I love that it has gone in the other direction, but it's important to know what the reality is and how politics has been involved all along. And I'm going to give Travis Waldron here the last word. He says the players have not committed the sin of introducing politics into football. Their sin is to be black men talking about politics when the NFL wants them to shut up and entertain. Again, that was before Donald Trump accidentally turned almost the entirety of the NFL against him and in favor of Colin Kaepernick and the protests. But for a long time, the NFL was on the wrong side of this. And yes, they too played politics. So apparently, literally in this case, two can play at that game. All right, we'll be right back. Young Turks, a couple of quick tweets. Aldo Chingon writes in, still less awkward than Hannity's MMA workout. Totally agreed, that was a hilarious video. Pat Trago says, hashtag TYT for streamies today and every day. That's right, except for the fact that after today, it doesn't really matter. So go vote right now, hashtag TYT for streamies. That's TYTFOR and then streamies. And you can watch us tonight on twitter.com/streamies. Anna and I are presenting a award, and you'll see if we're going to win. And then Mole says, Obamacare. If you strike me down, I will become more powerful than you could possibly imagine. I like the reference. Okay, let's keep going. Let's go to Alabama. All right. I'm already amused. Okay. We've got an interesting race in Alabama that is happening today. They've got a primary on the Republican side. Jeff Sessions obviously became Attorney General and they need to fill that seat. For the moment being, Luther Strange was appointed to that seat in a very controversial way by a governor who had a sex scandal, which Luther Strange was investigating. And then the governor appoints Luther Strange and then leaves office and he's fine, and Luther Strange all of a sudden is not investigating him anymore. So that's among the problems Luther Strange has and the establishment has. It's scratch my back, I scratch your back. This is what people hate. So Luther Strange is an enormously right-wing Republican, but that is one of his problems, and that's a fair problem to have. Another problem is that the guy who he's running against, Roy Moore, is an even more insane right-wing Republican. So that's why Donald Trump was in Alabama giving that speech in the first place. Now, he didn't spend a lot of time talking about Luther Strange. He spent more time, of course, talking about himself, and then started that huge NFL controversy down there. He might have been a little bit distracted or indifferent because of the latest polls. Every poll has his guy, Luther Strange, losing. Right now, Roy Moore is up 50% to 40%. And that's one poll we're showing you there, Emerson College poll, but all the polls have Roy Moore leading significantly. Luther Strange is backed by the establishment, Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump. Roy Moore backed by the basket of deplorables, Steve Bannon, Sean Hannity, and all the other extreme right wingers. But by the way, no one's a winner in this race unless somehow the Democrat pulls out a victory against one of these guys. And Moore is crazy enough, as you're about to see in a second, that he at least has a shot at losing. That's a pun, as you'll see as well, unintended though. A shot at losing the general election race. Even Donald Trump knows it. In the rally where he was supposed to be getting people excited about Luther Strange, he said, quote, I might have made a mistake politically in backing the underdog in the race. He's such a clown. You know why he does that? He sees the polls and he's like, well, I don't want my ego to get ruffled here, so I'm going to support him, but only a little bit, because I mean, I don't want to take responsibility if he loses. The ego has landed in Alabama. So apparently Luther Strange has more money, is spending a lot of that in ads. Roy Moore is aggrieved by this because apparently someone questioned whether he's in favor of the Second Amendment. Not in Alabama. So he is going to have this comical response.
It's been very hard for my wife and myself to wither nearly 3 months of negative ads that we couldn't answer with money because we didn't have it. Ads that were completely false. that I don't believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in the Second Amendment. You know, they say guns are bad, that they kill. Well, I know a lot about guns.